This week's episode of the Co-optionaI Podcast is proudly sponsored by Squarespace. Get 10% off your first order at squarespace.com/cooptional. Create your own professional-looking website with no prior knowledge required at squarespace.com/cooptional. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Co-optionaI Podcast on the 30th of August 2016. A little bit of a different lineup this week, but hey, we have a lineup, that's a thing. We've got people.
Yay!
It's like the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Sports jokes.
I got you, bro.
Is it? Okay,
you.
all right, good to know.
You got RG3 now, man. Anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You watch wrestling, it's the same thing.
It's not the same thing.
It is the same thing, but it's
Big men with muscles hitting each other hard.
I mean, yeah, sure.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Where do I go? Where do I
I'm
sign
in.
up?
A lot of people are in, to be honest with you.
Cool. It's good to know.
Sex sells, and so does skimpy men with big muscles.
Absolutely, and tight trunks.
Before anyone says anything,
Trunks.
I did not say,
Trunks.
Trunks.
Right?
hey, let me on this
Indeed.
podcast instead of Jesse. That was not me. TD was like, hey, you want to be on this podcast instead of Jesse? He's not here. And I was like, sure. I showed up. I did my thing. I'm here.
Pretty much.
And are you being attacked? Are you being attacked by
No, I'm not being attacked, but I'm
You're
doing
preempting.
You're preemptively making sure everybody
Don't
knows
worry.
You
what
are
went
the
down.
usurper
I've been in this situation
in this
before.
situation here.
Jesse was pooping. Crendor took his place, and there we go.
Yeah.
Literally,
That's how she
though, the conspiracy continues. Like, I've been a
I'm
guest
sure
on the
someone will come up
show
with
3
something.
times now.
Yeah.
0 Jessies.
Yeah, that's actually true.
Really?
Every time
It's
you
very
show
weird.
up, he doesn't. Coincidence? I think not.
Damn, dude.
The
Something
hate
going on
is
there.
so strong between the two of you. So strong,
know.
in fact, that you don't even know it's there.
Yeah, it's gone a full circle. Like it's back to 0 for me. I have no idea.
Yeah,
Just resets.
indeed. Welcome, everybody, to the Co-optionaI Podcast, where we occasionally talk about video games.
We do. Thank you for
I do wanna
resetting that
apologize,
conversation.
though.
That's good.
I want to apologize on behalf of you guys for Crendor, because I'm watching this intro and it's not Crendor, it's Jesse, and
No,
yet
it's not.
he's one of the hosts. You know, like
Yeah,
that's dark.
Yeah.
We didn't have time at the last minute to completely reanimate the intro, it turns out. So,
Yeah,
never mind.
I
Not
do
even
feel like
emotional.
much in the same way that Crendor used to have a wig always on hand to become me.
Yeah.
You should have some kind of like, that spray that's supposed to go in your hair. You could just have
Yeah,
a red
hairspray.
can of one of those like hair coloring sprays and just like make your beard red.
Yeah.
Easy
And just
switch.
The
Yeah.
glasses.
You could just even like mince up carrots and just rub it all over your head, basically.
Yeah. That would probably work even better.
It's biodegradable. The more I think about it, like, you know what?
It's
If we're being
kind of
honest with
weird.
ourselves,
Yeah.
I'm a little bit offended. She recommended an aerosol solution. Like that's that's what's wrong with America right now. Like, how do we
Right.
fix it? Spray chemicals. Who gives a shit?
God,
You know?
Jeff, it's like Jesse is here. Telling me all the ways that I'm ruining the world. You
And
guys
carrots.
are filling his position so
Well,
well.
That's why there can't be 2 of us, right?
I know. I get
Too
it.
much.
I get it now. It's all coming together.
With our powers combined, we can form the Jesse Cox.
On a serious note, though, fuck
What are
Jesse,
the
right? Am I right?
ingredients? Yeah. What are the ingredients of a Cox, though? Like, what do you need to make one?
Oh, that's an age-old recipe that goes back to a lot of kind of the Wiccan cultures. If you go, kind of the middle of
Yeah.
the Mid-East.
You gotta go to the dead center of the Middle East. It's
Yeah.
right
I'm
in
not
the
sure
middle.
the Wiccan
I
cultures
believe-
came from the
I'm not-
Middle East.
So listen, the orange comes out of nacho cheese Doritos, but I'm not entirely sure on the portions of it. I don't know if it's 2 bags, and then I don't know if it's family sized, but it is at least 1. and then it is Mountain Dew Red Alert, and then you actually have to disintegrate a WoW disc, and you put it in there, and then you shred one book of Star Wars, preferably a really shitty one, like the
much.
teen,
Most of them are, yeah.
A lot of them are shit, but like the teen, Jaina Solo books where they did their like teen adventures.
Yes.
One of those would do it, and then you pee in it, and it doesn't really matter what kind of pee we're talking here. You just pee in it.
Yeah.
That's how you make a Jesse Cox.
There you
Like
go.
it.
Now you know. It's turned into a cooking show. Speaking of which, I made a delicious steak last night. It was wonderful.
What kind?
Did you use your water thingy?
I did. The
Water
sous vide.
thingy.
Absolutely. Yes. I've
What's
got a
water
sous
thingy?
vide immersion low temperature cooking device.
All right, English.
Yeah, I got a bit.
Crendor, you've been watching that chef's table shit. It's like those
Yeah.
thingies where you vacuum seal a thing
Oh,
throw it in the water,
You
and then
vacuum
like
Pressure cooker.
perfectly cooks it.
No, it's
Are you
not
talking about pressure
cooker.
cooker?
No,
Oh.
it's but you vacuum seal the meat and then you put it
Go on.
in a water bath, and that water bath has
We
an
just call that a
immersion
bath
heater.
here.
Well, you don't put it in the bath. No, that seems horribly
where the
inefficient.
revolution-
Water
Now
bath
I'm
with
confused. You said water bath, and I take one of those almost every day. So
Put some bubbles in there.
I would assume most, it's like, an animal is a dog an animal, but an animal not a dog. Animal's not necessarily a dog. You get the idea. So big pot of water. You put the immersion heater in it. It's got timer control and it's got temperature control, and it's Wi-Fi controlled as well. So you can kind of go through the app, and it actually has all the temperatures and times for different weights and pieces of meat. In this case, got 2 steaks, which I'd marinated in red wine, cumin, soy, mustard, and a couple other things for a couple of hours beforehand. You do a nice slow 2-hour cook at 127 degrees or so. Take it out, let it sit for 5 minutes, do the dry rub, and then sear on both sides 1 minute apiece in a cast iron skillet. Let it sit for 5 minutes, serve. Beautiful. Awesome. Like, best
Don't
way
you
to
have
do a
any,
steak I've found so far.
Don't you have any food sponsorships yet?
I don't know. I'm working on it. I don't know how
Yeah,
we've managed
where
to
are
avoid
our
that.
food sponsorships?
good luck with the water-cooked steak food sponsorship, guys.
It's a lot of restaurants use sous vide now. Like, if you've ever watched is it Burnt? I think the film, which was basically the docu-film of Gordon Ramsay, only with someone else entirely playing him. Who was it that played him?
I don't know.
Jordan.
famous
I've heard
guy.
of that.
Burnt,
Jordan Ramsay?
Bradley Cooper
Oh.
basically plays a version of Gordon Ramsay in that, where his sort of assistant chef is trying to modernize his kitchen and replaces everything with sous vides. It's like, no, this is the way that you do it. And yeah, those things are great. They're really useful. Awesome for, you slow cook the meat and then you just sear and finish it up. It's nice.
There you go.
It's good.
Knowledge, cooking
There you
knowledge.
go, cooking.
Sponsor us.
It's like crafting.
Nice.
It's like crafting in video games. Only you
Yeah.
produce something of worth.
It's kind of like No Man's Sky.
It's nothing like
very
No
much
Man's
like
Sky.
No Man's Sky.
No, it doesn't end. It doesn't end in horrible
Oh
disappointment.
my god.
It doesn't require hours of mining to prepare the steak prior to that.
That'll turn into the biggest diss you can say to someone or a game. It's like,
Yeah, at least it's not No Man's Sky. It's
little bit
become.
like
It's
No Man's
definitely.
Sky.
Yeah, it's become a lot of
Who
that.
fucking beta tested that game and came out
Nobody.
of it?
That's the
And
problem.
looked him in the eye and was like, guys,
You got a winner.
You
on
got
your
a
hands.
winner right here, okay?
They didn't let
You
anybody.
guys, there's kids out there playing Minecraft. They're hacking at bricks. Why not shoot bricks in space? All right. And then when you land on a planet, shoot bricks there too.
Yeah, well,
The
the
game.
problem with that game is that, again, they just didn't let anybody anywhere near it because they were too busy maintaining that sense of mystery. Like, they were obsessed with the goddamn sense of mystery. And, people compare it to, like, Star Citizen. It's like, oh, Star Citizen's going to be the next disappointment. It's like, the thing about Star Citizen is that you can play it right now, like, in its current state. It's in alpha, but you can play it. And they write fucking novel-length descriptions of what they're doing on a weekly basis. You can, if you want literally any aspect of production you want to know about with that game, its exact current stage, you can go and find it out right now. With No Man's Sky, all they did was they gave a bunch of vague interviews, showed 2 trailers, and then released the damn thing. Having, there was no open alpha, there was no open beta, nobody got to play it beforehand, nobody got review codes beforehand. And then it turned out that the giant mystery was that it was shit in a box, was the mystery gift.
Well,
You unwrapped it, none but shit in a box.
like conceptually, how cool is it? It's a massive exploration game in outer space with alien races and stuff like that. Like that's cool in theory.
Yeah.
But then like 30 minutes later, you're like, oh, this is it. That's all of it.
That's actually.
Oh my god! And then when they announced the whole like, is it 2 weeks or 2 months after you've explored a place, then it gets wiped?
Apparently that
shit.
may have turned out
Really?
not to be the case.
Really?
Yeah, there's still
Thank
some
God, 'cause that was the
umming and
most
ahhing
idiotic
over that.
thing I've ever read.
Yeah, basically people were saying that their creations were getting wiped. I don't think that's actually true. I think that some people were having some connectivity issues, and that's why that was happening to them. But I don't believe. I think that's come out as false. That isn't the case anymore. Yeah, because that would be the ultimate kick in the teeth, wouldn't it? It's like this game came out as a massive
Seriously.
disappointment, but the one thing that it does do, which lets you discover and name things, that gets wiped after 2 weeks. That would be like the worst. That would take the only redeeming point from that game and throw it away. I can't imagine that would be true. But if you notice just how completely silent the dev team's been after the fact, like nobody.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
They've made no effort whatsoever to take control of the narrative post-launch, and the narrative post-launch is this is a giant disappointment, and actually it's not even just a disappointment. It was built and sold on lies. Like even to this point right now, the first thing you see,
they probably knew that. Deep
I
down.
think they did. I really genuinely think
Really?
they did. I know, I
That's what
really
it
do.
says to me too.
It's either that or they were in their own development bubble and they drank so much of their own Kool-Aid that they didn't realize it. But I don't think they did. I think they did realize what was going to happen, and they released it, they cashed out, and that's it. Maybe they don't get trusted to make another game again, but that really doesn't matter. They can form a new studio with a new name and just make another thing, and people have probably forgotten by then. They made their money.
Sony.
They sold millions of copies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just they don't seem to care. There was an article that came out that said, No Man's Sky story is being written by its haters. Like, yeah, because the dev team has not addressed a single thing that's been a single accusation that's been leveled against that game. They haven't made any effort at all to apologize for missing features, to clarify things they said. They've just been totally silent since it came out.
It's like Niantic with Pokemon Go all over again.
Yeah.
How like there would be glaring issues and people would be like, "Yo, what's going on with these things?"
Where'd the
And they just
tracker
wouldn't
go?
respond.
I just want to track my Pokemons, and they're just like, we
Like,
fixed
what
a
are-
text error.
Oh, God.
I'm like, I just want to play your game.
I just want to play it, but
Please
I
let
guess
me
maybe
play
I
your
won't
game.
anymore. That's fine.
I just think what most people want is at least an effort to come
Yeah.
out and kind of apologize. There's no for God's sake, the main video that plays when you go to the Steam page is still like 2014 trailer that contains a bunch of shit which isn't even in the game,
Yeah.
and it
A
looks
lot of it's just clarity.
I hear, like, not to play devil's advocate, but I understand the business, which is not, again, ethically okay or cool, but like
No.
the business side of it is you don't say those things because you're still going to fucking lure in a bunch of people that are like, oh, No Man's Sky, I heard about
people
that.
are
Because
still
there's
gonna
so many
buy it,
people.
yeah.
There's so many people that aren't like us, that aren't constantly plugged into gaming media, and they just like show up and they're like, oh, it did come out. Cool. It's not that expensive. And they pick it up, they play it, and then they're like, this is shit. But if there's more media out there where they're like, hey, sorry, our game's shit. We meant for it to be great. We'll do other stuff. Then there's a lot of people that are like, well, I'm not going to buy that game. I don't know anything about it. I don't watch any shows. I don't read any media, but I saw that message. Not going to buy it.
Yeah.
Especially a lot of console people.
That's definitely true, because I mean, there's not really a game like that you can get on console. There's quite a few games you can get like this on PC that either do spaceflight better or do crafting or exploration or mining better. Like, maybe they don't do them all, but they do at least one aspect of that very, very well, whereas No Man's Sky does none of it well at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that it's much easier for PC users to say, well, I'm just going to go play something else then. And for console users, like, wow, it's a big open world space game. We don't get any of those ever. Like, we have no alternatives. But it's just bothersome because, I mean, hell, every single screenshot of that game on the Steam page is a lie. Like, it's all false.
Yeah.
All of the videos are false. I mean, even the UI doesn't even look like that anymore. Like, you see that, like, really
That's
nice,
pretty bad. That's
clean
unforgivable.
UI that's in those videos. It doesn't exist. That's not what it looks
That's
like.
bad.
The texture quality isn't that good. There are creatures showing that giant fucking dinosaur isn't even in the game, for God's sake.
I got nothing, John. That one's bad.
Yeah,
They're just fucking.
There's no
I can't
defense.
even.
No devil's
Nothing I
advocacy
can
here.
say.
That's
There's
just the
nothing
devil.
I can say to fix this.
Yeah, it's,
You do have to update the pictures on the page that you buy the game via.
It's
Right?
lies.
That's pretty shady.
There's no other way around it. You can't make you can make excuses for the vagaries prior to launch, but you can't make excuses for literal false screenshots and videos being the only things available on the Steam page, and they still being there after 2 weeks. Just
Like, can you imagine Blizzard doing that or something?
they'd get shredded.
Well, they have like 1,000 lawyers on retainer in an underground
yeah.
bunker, and every single one of them would not. They'd be like,
Well,
no,
that is true.
you cannot actually do that. That'll open us up to some form of a lawsuit that we'll probably lose because we're evil. Lawyers are evil. Anyways, that game.
It's like, damn.
No, I like Blizzard. All right, look.
It got too intense, too fast.
That's what I do. That's why I'm here. 0 to 60. All right.
I know.
Metzen pops out of a cloud. It's like,
He just drills out from the ground. It's like, hey, Jeff.
I actually got lost. So I spent one night watching Man vs. Game play that game. It was one of those things where it was like, I tune in. I'm like, all right, 3,000 people are watching this. Why? I need to know more about this game because it's kind of a big deal right now for one reason or another. And then it was kind of like, not necessarily a car accident, but like a StarCraft 2 reference. One of these terrible Swarm host games that went on for 4.5 hours. The viewership grew over time, and it wasn't because people were like interested in it. It's because you become committed. You're like, oh God, I have to see if there's anything of value here at all.
Until the end.
And that's what happened. He just kept fucking shooting things and like mining resources and just slightly building up a spaceship. And that was
so
and it
boring
was
to
that
watch.
the game.
My
It was
God.
horrible. It was like the worst. And what I'm saying is like there's people who play weird games, Dodger, and then like you can like look into it and be like, okay, I can see how that person would like it because they're weird. But when you watch something like this, it's like I don't get it. I don't get how anyone would play it.
No, and
I thought it would be my type of game too. Like, I really like exploring places and doing all that. So I was like really into it for like a while. Like, oh, this is cool. And then once I started realizing that all the places are pretty much the same, but just colored different and all that, and they all have like the same, like this place has a shelter, this place has a thing. It's like, okay, I don't really care anymore.
Yeah.
That and the fuel. That and having the mind to fuel to fly everywhere. I was
Exploration's
like,
nice until you realize that you have to really you have to work your ass off to do it, and the process of working your ass off to do it is really dull. It's not interesting, but now I think the current like real narrative is like there's now the backlash against the backlash against the backlash against the backlash. It's like, oh, blah, people being so mean, blah blah. It's like, look, that's fucking bullshit obfuscation. Like, okay, if you're gonna spend all your time obsessing over the few people that went crazy and fucking threatened the developers, great. I mean, you're giving attention to trolls. Congratulations, you fucking idiots. Stop doing that.
The far more reasonable response is they mega hyped this up, and then, as you said, they kind of withheld information. Well, no, the other part of it, too, is that up until launch, they literally reduced information going out. They controlled it because they, to your point, probably kind of knew that it was going to be a letdown.
Yep.
And then lived off that hype, and then post-launch have actually not updated things that could quite literally be false advertisement to get a few more sales, and then they're going to, like you said, cash out and go. And that's pretty nefarious. That's pretty bad. Like, a really reasonable company that's being honest and apologetic and, like, working to update or fix or whatever, or just beta tests and puts it out in the public or something along those lines, that company, if they have a bad launch, you feel almost, like, empathetic to. You're like, I'm sorry that happened to you. With these guys, you're like, you just...
I don't feel sympathy. I don't, because they flat out fucking lied, and I'm not going to have the games media once again throw a fucking tantrum by saying, oh, well, there were some people who are mean on the internet, so none of your complaints are valid. No, I don't give a fuck if some people were mean on the internet. Yeah, okay, they're being twats. I don't care. It's your job as the media to hold to account developers that screw over consumers by lying to them frequently, not prop them up, not try to change the conversation, because that's all bullshit. Those are the kind of people that shouldn't even be being given attention. Okay, some anon is running his mouth and posting threats and docs and shit like that. Great. Don't talk about them. Don't highlight their behavior. It just encourages them to do it more. Talk again about what really matters. The fact that, it's not very good, and the developers lied, and everything leading up to launch was deliberately vague or turned out to be false, on the fact that there's been no communication since launch of any effort to even address any of the problems the game has. Like, okay, all they need to do is come out and say, right, okay, we understand some of the features are underdeveloped, we're really sorry, so here's the sort of layout for the next few months. Here's our development plan. And
here's how we're going to give you the
here's how we're going to give you that.
Going to get.
Yeah. Compare that to a couple of little indie devs, because let's be honest, Hello Games is a little indie dev, but there's 2 indie devs recently who have come to attention. One of them is the developer of In Case of Emergency Release Raptor that we were talking about the last couple of weeks. He has taken that game off Steam because he decided it wasn't up to scratch. So he's like, you know what? It's not what we wanted, and it's not what people expected, so I've taken it off Steam, and then we're going to go work on it and do something else. And then the other developer is the guy that made Slain, which was a sort of side-scrolling... They described it as a metal platformer, because it was very metal-themed, had some really nice aesthetic, metal soundtrack, and everything like that. Turned out to be awful on launch, like really, really bad game.
Aww.
So what does he do? Instead of, complaining that people are slamming his game and rating it down, he apologizes, says, I'm going to go fix it, and then that's exactly what he does, and he comes back 6 months later with a new one called Slain Back from Hell Edition that's way fucking better.
Sounds better. To be fair, though, and again, I'm not defending No Man's Sky, but the scale of those games is probably pretty different.
Oh, it is. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
But that was also one guy versus a 15-man studio. And really, it just comes down to the attitude from them.
I agree with that.
Attitude's
very
One
different.
is in hiding and counting their money. And the other one is like, oh, yeah, I fucked up. Cool. I'm going to try and fix that. Let's go. Here's my plan and how I'm going to do that.
Absolutely. Fuck that game.
Yeah. Seriously. Yeah. Now Polygon's going to write another article about how mean you are, Jeff. It's like, oh, they're so mean. Oh, woe is
Good.
me. Yeah.
That'll be more Twitter followers for me.
Yeah, indeed. It's like, I don't care. It's like, oh no, some people are mean on the internet. Yeah, that's fucking newsworthy.
You know what? Some games suck, guys. Some games actually suck, and I think that's okay to say. And it's also, by the way, okay for someone listening to this to be like, actually, I really enjoy that game, and I'm having a good time. More power to you.
Go for
Do
it.
not let somebody else saying they don't like that game or they have issues with it take away from your enjoyment of the game.
Indeed.
People fucking played Tetris, guys. It's dropping bricks on bricks. It's just dropping fucking bricks on bricks, and they go away.
I'm just dropping the bricks on the bricks, and my life has no meaning.
Yeah. People played a pigeon dating simulator.
They did.
Yeah.
It's fucking amazing.
That shit was pretty awesome.
So
That was amazing.
and that game until I die.
Oh god. All right, well, let's talk about games we've actually been playing this week, not avoiding because they suck. Who wants to throw the hat in the ring? Who wants to start off?
Well, I don't know. For me, if you guys haven't talked about it yet, I think the obvious one is Deus Ex, right?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it last week, but I haven't had actually a chance to play it all week.
I played it since last week, so I would actually
played some of it.
Go for it. Bring it on.
I thought it was a gorgeous game. I think some of the criticism is that it's very similar to I'm blanking on the name of it, the one before, Human Revolution. Yeah. Very similar to it in terms of play style, even graphically, it's not leaps and bounds, very different. But I think that's not necessarily the worst criticism to level at a game. Obviously, you should update over time, especially with how much time is in between those two games. I think it's like 4 or 5 years, something like that. But I really enjoyed it. I think it's one of the more fun, it makes you feel like it's a pseudo open world game when obviously it's very much so not, but there's a lot of open world qualities to it. So you can do a lot of exploration, but it's not like hamstringing you to exploration. You don't have to do these side quests, but they actually add to the story and actually kind of change your ending. They upgrade your main story abilities and stuff like that. Like there is utility to them, but you're not forced into them or forced out of them. There's even side stories. There's points of interest stories that are a little bit more platformy and abstract, and obviously a little bit less fleshed out, but still very good. And then just as a game, like I really did feel like the combat, the platforming, the moving interaction, the cover system, all very, very good. There's a decent difference in enemies that you fought. You weren't fighting like the same 3 guys reskinned over and over again, but to that point, I think there was like 8 different kinds of things that you fought throughout a game that probably takes 20 or 30 hours, which isn't the most. And then I'm not going to spoil it, but they're well, I guess I kind of am a little bit. So if you want no spoilers at all, of course you shouldn't listen to any gaming podcast talking about a game you want to
pretty much
about,
no. Yeah,
there's
People
really
have
only
very different
one
definitions to what spoilers actually are.
That's okay. I piss off people on the internet all the time. It's fine. There's really only one boss fight ish. I'm guessing you could maybe find and craft out another 1 or 2 or something like that. So that was a little bit like,
Well, I mean, I think it's got a lot to do with the response to the boss fights in Deus Ex Human Revolution, and the fact they were maybe the worst parts of the game. I mean, with
this one was quite good. I thought it was pretty good, actually.
Yeah, I heard a lot of positive feedback about it, and originally the boss fights in Human Revolution, there was 3 of them, and they were all pretty terrible, mostly because if you picked a certain playstyle, you couldn't beat them very, reliably.
Right.
So they had to go back with the director's cut of that game and change that. And they changed the way the boss fights worked. And I think they decided, you know what, boss fights in first-person shooters generally don't work that well.
They're tough to pull off. Yeah,
there's not many games that do them very well, so let's just not.
And I think that's an okay choice. When you play it through, John, I'll be interested to hear what you think, because I think actually in that respects, this boss fight was cooler because it used a lot of the different aspects of the game itself. And yeah, I see my mic's a little bit loud, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not an audio guy. But yeah, overall, I thought the game was really, really fun. Story-wise, it started to get way into the Square Enix department of like, this is fucking weird. There's like so many things going on at once, and they're like pretty convoluted. Like, obviously, I think most people understand the basic gist of the story. Yeah. But if someone's like, hey, okay, you beat Deus Ex, well, go ahead and just tell me about the story real quick. No, nobody can. Nobody can. They'll be like, well, in general, this is what's happening. But as far as like who betrays who's actually who, what government Illuminati secret conspiracy is working with who and meeting in what room, and like it gets pretty crazy, which is for some people really fun. So that's cool. And then last thing I would just add on my part is I just thought it was a pretty shit game to stream though. Quality was obviously rough on day one, and then past that, a lot of people didn't want to watch because either they didn't understand the story or get it, or they wanted to play it themselves, which is completely fair. But it was a pretty rough game for me to stream, I thought.
There's a lot of in-game exploration in that game that isn't fun to watch, but for someone that likes Deus Ex, it's compelling to do. Like, if you don't want to watch someone crawl around in vents for 3 hours finding ebooks and things, then you probably aren't going to find that entertaining to watch at all. And that's exactly how I play it. That's how I played all the Deus Ex games. Like, find every hidden thing. Because it's full of it, totally full of it, and a lot of the story is fleshed out very well by finding that context, reading newspapers and audiobooks and emails from people's computers are going to... the amount of actual character development and scene setting is massive. And if you're willing to engage in that and spend the time looking for that, I think the complaints about the story, as it were, sort of melt away. It's maybe a different layer of storytelling. There's that direct form of storytelling where it's like, a dude is talking to me, and there is exposition now. And then there's everything surrounding that, which is world building, and storytelling through world building and all that kind of thing. And, Deus Ex, I don't think has ever excelled in the first aspect. I mean, the first game had some pretty gnarly writing, not to mention some awful voice acting, but it has always excelled in the world building. And I say all 3 games because we don't count the second one, it's not real. All 3 games have done that really, really well. And if you're willing to engage in that, and you're willing to explore to find that, then it is a very immersive game.
I love the exploration. Obviously, there's that 19th time you move the garbage can aside and there's a vent behind it, and you're like, okay, this is their go-to hidden area. But then there's like little stuff where you find a vault behind a secret door that you never would have found otherwise, except that you flushed the toilet or you punched the bag and it opened up, like a whole nother side quest. Like you're like, all right, Deus Ex, that's pretty sick. And you feel cool about it. And I did a lethal run. I tried to kill as many people as I possibly could. This game allows for you to kill basically everyone. You can kill police in an entire city. And don't worry, when you come back, they rehired. And then, like, police 2 blocks later aren't pissed at you. Thought that was pretty funny. I mean, I've talked enough, but we can come back to it. That was pretty funny.
No, it was so. I just want to say, as a person coming from the perspective of having never played a Deus Ex game before, I thought this game was confusing as fuck. Like, I came into it and, you know, they have like a 12-minute, hey, if you don't know
Recap of
anything
the
about
first
Deus
one.
Ex,
Yeah,
I'm
well,
going to tell
Human
you
Revolution.
everything that's ever happened.
Yeah.
And I was so just like halfway through that, I was lost. Like, I had forgotten who people were. I forgot like what was even going on. You know, it was just so long with so much information. And then in the actual game, you know, I did the same as Jeff. I was like, okay, we're going to go full death bonus and try to kill everybody, because
Of course.
everybody that I know does a non-lethal run. And I was like, well, let's do something a little different and try to kill everyone. And I feel like trying to kill everyone is harder.
Yes.
Oh, it can be, yeah.
Because if you shoot a gun, everybody's alerted, right? And then everybody's like, oh, where are you? And you try to fucking get them all to come down one corridor so you can just line them up and shoot them all. But it took me forever to get out of that one first area. And then yeah, they you know, plop you into like his apartment, right? And then you start getting more story stuff, but all of the characters, because people who have played other Deus Ex games before are going to recognize these characters. Like, they talk so familiarly and are like, yeah, you know, when we like did that thing, or like, oh, come on, why do you got to be like that? We were buddies once, right? And I'm like, I don't know who this person is. I don't know what's going on. Like, it didn't do a very good job of making me feel like I could jump right in. And a lot of people assured me that I would probably be able to jump in easily. I just want to say on the record, I could not jump in very easily. And the only way I was able to like really come into my own in that game was to just kill every civilian I saw. So
Well, I had the same
I
issues
did that for a while.
because I played it for the first time as well.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, I've never played a Deus Ex game. Let's stream it. And so they're like, you just gotta just do the things. It'll be fine. And I'm like, okay. So then I'm just going along. I'm like, oh, I don't know what this is. I don't know what that is. But I was like having fun because I just like exploring in games, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh
Yeah.
shit, I'm in this guy's apartment. I'm like, I'm gonna crack this like code or whatever. It's like doing all that.
I loved hacking. I thought that was fun.
Hacking was fun,
Yeah, hacking
but
was
exploring,
fun.
like you said, that even not knowing anything, that is fun, and you can do that
Yeah.
the entire game.
So I was like, oh, we're in like Prague. This is neat. And it's like going around. I'm like, oh, whoa, what if I go in this place? And they're like, you can't go in there. I'm like, oh, God. And then,
I bet if I go an event, I'll get in there.
Yes,
but then-
Like,
that's
you're
always
not
true.
supposed to be here. And I'm like, okay, but what if I
I don't know
just
if
murder
you guys
everybody?
had this problem, but you
Yeah.
know when you get into the one room and the girl's like freaking out with the fake like passport thingies.
Yeah.
Mine like glitched or like I didn't turn on. I don't even think it was a glitch. I think it was just I didn't turn off the alarms. But everybody was dead. So I'm like, all right, yo, let's just talk to me. And she's like freaking out still. I'm like, what? And I just like put my gun away and she's still freaking out. And I'm like, do I have to shoot her? So I just killed her. And everyone's like, oh my God, no. So I'm like, let's like reset it. And it just turns out you have to like turn the alarms off for her to
Mhm.
stop freaking
Yeah.
out. I was
Dude.
like, oh, all right.
One sequence of events, and it happened more or less at the same time. I literally like just like, oh, event, and I go through it, drop down in the apartment where a guy sells weapons. But if you go into that through that event, you're now in the bad spot. So his bodyguards are like, hey, motherfucker, and they come like running in, and I kill him obviously, and I'm like, oh God, and then you don't get anything cool from the guy that sells weapons. But I'm like sitting there waiting out like the search moment, and I'm sitting next to a urinal, and a guy comes walking in, unzips his pants and starts to go pee right in front of me. But the best part is and this is so like Deus Ex in every game. I obviously don't need to tell you this, but he makes the unzip sound, motions to go to the bathroom. Nothing's happening. Obviously, there's no dick here. All right, which is a huge letdown for me. But that little moment, I was just laughing because there's so many moments like that. Like you were saying, like you'd pop into a guy's apartment, like you hack in, you like kick in the door, like all right, time to search. And the guy's sitting there watching TV, like eating a pizza, and you're like, there's just zero reaction from him. And then you're like opening stuff and
Weird.
taking stuff.
Sometimes they react really big, but I think it's only if you've killed somebody in the vicinity.
Yeah.
Then they'll be like, surely you're the person who murdered that guy 2 doors down. I'm losing my mind. I'm just
Yeah.
like,
Or they just sit there and you steal everything in their house. And then towards the end, I kind of got the gist of this, but there is like, the game is beautifully well done, but obviously your immersion's going to be, it's in your head, guys. You gotta dig deep to get immersed in that game, because you'll like fucking shoot 5 cops, run around the corner, they don't see you, and they're like, wow, it must be fine, and then like everything returns completely to normal. Yeah. And then you can like go in an apartment, and just for the fun of it, there'll be like 3 people outside, but they're like just out of field view, so you'll just be like, all right, thanks for looting your room, shoot him in the head, he drops dead, you walk out, and just nothing at all.
Yeah, the like searching percentage that pops up when you murder somebody, and it's like, all right, they're gonna spend a few seconds here looking around for you. All right, they're done. Like, okay, cool. And then you just walk
the
out,
interesting thing about like even all the Deus Ex games, including the really old one, the first one, have always been very, we could say, generous with stealth. Let's just put it that way. Like,
yeah,
there are a lot of very blind people in those games.
Yes,
it's very, very possible to sit where it's like, logically, you should be able to see me here, and they just ignore you completely.
Oh, I did that with the guy where you gotta like sneak past him with the passport things too. It was just like, gotta sneak past him if you don't want to pay the thing. And I just like kind of walked past him. I didn't even go stealth, and I was like, all right, well,
that's cool. Yeah. And, you know, there's sort of a balance you've got to strike when dealing with stealth gameplay. Like, if you do something, then you got to spend 10 minutes hiding from people for them to stop chasing you. That gets really fucking boring. But they maybe drop the whole thing a little quick. It's like, well, you murdered half the Prague police force. We should probably take this a bit more seriously.
Fine.
And then they'll check your cards when you go through the subway. They're like, who are you? And they're like, oh, you're fine. It's like, really? Because I killed like 70 cops.
I think a lot of people have seen me murder some gents in this.
Nobody on the radio? No record here? Nah, you're fine. Get out of here. I do think, as far as games go, and I did not, I find it enjoyable to kill a lot of people in games, so I don't do the non-lethal thing, but I have to imagine if you're deriving a lot of...
You and I have that connection.
See, and that's why we're on the show together all the time, not Jesse Cox. He would probably fucking kill nobody.
Here. He was very upset with me when he found out that I killed a lot of people in this game. So yeah,
he would give like back rubs and warm compliments to everyone.
I love the massive hypocrisy of that, considering he flips out on Twitter every time someone calls him out for a decision that they didn't like on his video. It's like, I got very upset. He's like, "This is dumb. I got to play the way I want." But
the tables have turned.
Indeed. I mean, the nice thing about Deus Ex is
because he cares about lore. It's because he feels like you're missing out on lore if you're murdering people who can give you story.
That's why you get the story, then you kill them, obviously.
I don't know, like that game to me, if I was gonna do not that I ever would, a non-lethal run, I feel like you're like pretty easily pleased if you do, because I think every single stealth situation is 100% solved by event. You can definitely do other things. Yeah. You could take the Crendor route where you just walk past them, or you could do some crab walking around a corner and like move a box and feel really clever. But other than that, it's almost always event, like 9 times out of 10.
There's a lot of events. Events
everywhere, man.
And you literally
is important in Prague.
Yeah,
guys.
You get the fucking multi-tool, and it's like, man, that door is hard to hack. Bzz. And you just walk through it.
That was the other thing that was confusing for me. I could hack doors in front of pretty much anybody.
And
then there would be that one time out of 10 where I'd start hacking a door and a bunch of dudes would be like, hey, what are you doing?
Hey!
That's the day they decided to care about the door hacking. So, well, it's actually the law is you can hack doors as long as it's not on a Tuesday. Then we get, then we get really pissed about that. I
do like the early game. You die super fast too. So I've had that Dodger moment where you're like, well, nobody gives a shit what I do. So I'm like, just like, all right, there's a door right next to the subway. Start to hack, and you hear, hey,
you're just dead. Like, okay, never mind.
Wrong door.
Their vision is not augmented. There's definitely an issue with that. But it's weird and interesting actually hearing about people who do lethal and non-lethal. The first game, the main character's brother encourages you to, in the very first level, to do things non-lethally. But honestly, it's quite tricky to do that because, so you've got an electric prod that has really limited ammo and generally takes 2 pokes to take down a regular dude, and there's not a lot of ammo for that lying around. You can find just a policeman's baton around there, and you can just beat them a few times to the back of the head with that and knock them out, which works. But a lot of it's based on the stats that you've got in your skills. So if you've got no melee skill, or none of the primitive weapon skill, like the basic weapon skill, which I think upgrades stuff like pepper spray and your baton and stuff like that, it's not a very effective way of getting rid of people. But if you go around and kill everybody, then you get chastised at the end of the level by your brother, but you get praised by the director for killing all the terrorists. And then if you do it the other way around, it's like, oh yeah, you did a great job of, do that. It's like, you realize, like, we're anti-terrorists. Those were terrorists. You're supposed to kill them, right? And the director gets pissed off with you. But weirdly enough, it's only really the first 3 missions in that game that ever cared about that. But what was interesting is that in doing that, it trained you in one way of thinking or another. So,
Right.
And then for the rest of the game, that's how you acted. Even after past the first 3 levels, it actually makes no difference unless you like kill a major character or side character or whatever. It doesn't matter if you use lethal or non-lethal techniques. But I noticed like the last 2 games got a lot easier to do non-lethal. Non-lethal in the original Deus Ex is tricky because the ammunition for the tranquilizer mini crossbow is not plentiful, and you generally have to buy it. And also, it takes a while to knock somebody out because they run around screaming for a while and then they fall over. Whereas in this game, you get the stun gun on the tranq rifle. You can knock somebody out pretty much instantly, and the ammo seems to be pretty plentiful. And I think that's why a lot of people go non-lethal. It's actually easier than using guns half the time.
Well,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
We're the real heroes, Dodger.
Yeah. Yeah, we did the more difficult option.
I
Actually,
have it
wait,
to be
what
harder, so yeah. That's what I
What
did.
difficulty did you start with, Jeff?
Not the hard one. It's the normal one.
Yeah, there's like Deus Ex is the hardest one you can do when you first open it, right?
Yeah,
And then there's,
this is
like,
Deus
It's I did
Ex,
not ask for this, which is So when you have to unlock that. Then there's Deus Ex, and there's the other one.
Yeah.
I did normal.
just four,
Which
yeah.
at the beginning I was like, I made the right call, but then I discovered you can take cover, and then I was like, oh, never mind. I should have done the one more harder.
Pretty much, yeah.
I was terrible at that game anyway, so
Yeah.
I was still dedicated to murdering as many people as I could.
Those
Just
are
a bad
never really like my
combination.
types of games. I'm like, these are all right, but I don't know. I just don't really enjoy single player like FPS type thing that much.
I'm the same. I'm just not good. I'm not good at them, I think is why I don't enjoy them. It's kind of like in
Yeah.
school and you're like, I hate history. And it's not that you hate history.
It's not
just
history's
that
bad. It's just
you're bad at
That's
remembering
what I was with
dates
math.
and
I'm
shit.
like, I hate math. That's the worst. I'm like, I'm really bad at math.
I'm just
Yeah.
really bad at math. Yeah. Just kind of accepting that about yourself. And
Yeah.
I've accepted that I'm terrible at FPS. So
they
I did that with
made,
Hearthstone.
they at least made an effort to say, oh, if you haven't played Human Revolution, you can play this. But honestly, you really have to play Human Revolution. Let's be totally frank with it.
Yeah.
Like, not only will that
It's-
make you very familiar with the way the game works, because it's almost identical in terms of mechanics, but all those characters, you know who they are. You do not need to play the original game at all.
You just should, John. It's a good
You
game.
should.
It's a good fucking game, and it's not even. I have to imagine it's $10 or $15 now or whatever.
Oh, you can pick it up for like $3, but
okay, there you go.
Deus Ex feels like a much older game. It's very playable still, but you're gonna have to throw some of your preconceptions out the window. The first
Sure.
time you aim a pistol at someone and realize, oh, it's actually gonna take me about 15 seconds for the reticule to get small enough for me to shoot him, and you realize, oh, this is actually an RPG. It's not actually a first-person shooter at all. It's an RPG, and I've got to worry about inventory management. I've got to worry about skills and leveling up my skills and all that kind of thing. Once you learn that, and once you learn how to play that, and if you're not completely intimidated by the first level, which is a very open level that lets you... It almost gives you too much freedom. Like, that game has scared a lot of people off in the first level, because the first level is big. There are so many ways to accomplish your goal in it. And it's like, here's a pistol and electric prod, go figure it out. And that's put a lot of people off, but that's actually a real shame, because for me, that level's one of the best levels that's ever been made in any video game, because of how much freedom you've got and how much there is to discover and explore. But that game definitely feels old these days. If you want to play it, just
I
go
think it
into
is
it
2011. It is old, right?
No, I'm
11 or
talking about the
12?
original Deus Ex.
Oh no, that one's
Like,
way old, dude.
Yeah. I mean, Human
Way
Revolution
old.
feels the same. as
John,
Weekend
that's 1979. I think is when that game came. out.
I'm fairly sure it was a
It was
little
alien.
later than that. I'm not 100% convinced about your timing.
Let's
there,
call it
but,
81, but it's
Untrue.
very
I'm looking
old.
at the wiki right now.
Yeah, it was Pong and then Deus Ex on the
1971.
Atari 2600. That was how it was, right? Yeah.
I watched Co play it, and he had like the I guess it has some guy that didn't work with the game or something like that did a mod for it to make it a little bit more modern.
Yeah, it may be the revision mod.
Yes.
The main problem is that it actually makes the game run like shit, which is not that good, especially for a game that old. You can polish up some of the graphics a little bit. You can get a different renderer, but the game's still going to look old. You just have to get over that fact and And also get over the fact that it doesn't control like an FPS because it controls
real
like an RPG.
When John says a game runs like shit, does anyone else picture like Jared Leno getting in like a Lamborghini and being like, "This is not my $1 million
I'm not sure that is a regularly made joke. It's like 139.
Says it runs like
second.
shit, and I'm like, it runs pretty good for me.
Yeah,
Dumpster
I'm cool with
fire.
that. Every time that TV says that the frame rate is abysmal, I'm like, I think it's fine.
Maybe I just have low standards. Maybe we all
I'm
just have
I
low
feel like standards though. I'm totally fine with that. I feel like
Yeah.
maybe I enjoy games a bit better.
I feel like he's like it's the same thing with my wife Anna. Like she does photography and stuff like that and camera work, so she'll be like, "Oh God, the gamma's off on this or whatever," and I'll be looking at it, I'll be like, "What is she seeing? Where is it?
What's your
Just, like, take a
LFIC
picture,
Lego?
you're like, that looks
It
great.
looks fine."
That looks like a great photo.
No, the gamma's off, Crendor.
High standards.
Nice standards.
Standards are a blessing and a curse. If you have no standards, then everything's wonderful.
Yeah.
Ignorance is
it's
bliss,
A
they
side
say.
cousin to ignorance is bliss. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
All right.
It actually is true though. Like when you learn that spiders are poisonous. Because I was a kid, I'd like grab spiders out of their web in my hand and be like, "Cool, I could feel it nibbling on me." Now as an adult, I'm like, Get away from me, foul beast!
Yeah.
Carry a parasite, a virus! It's
Oh,
like-
there's a spider in the house. Better get the flamethrower out. We're
Yeah.
done.
Oh my God. Sam and I had like the longest conversation where I was like, yeah, I got bit by a bunch of spiders in my sleep. And he was like, spiders don't bite you when you're sleeping. And I was like, they do though. They definitely do. And he was like, they don't. And we did all this research. They do not. They don't. They have no
They
reason to
don't?
bite you when you're sleeping.
No,
What
no.
bites you then? Because you do get bit.
You
There
get bit
are-
by something.
There are many, many different types of mosquitoes, like all over America specifically, that bite you in different ways.
You know what? Can we let's do this? Let's just agree that it's spiders anyways, because that's way cooler than getting bit by a mosquito at night.
Yeah, it's definitely spiders. You know,
Yeah,
that when you're
spiders
sleeping,
kill
you
mosquitoes. They're
eat
great,
1,000
you know.
spiders a year.
You
You
don't, Crendor. That's a
You
myth.
don't. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crender's like,
It's
no,
not
I'm pretty sure because this morning I made a bowl of 9 of them and I ate them. So
Doing on purpose.
I ate
great
plenty.
protein, let me tell you.
Throw some milk in there. Delicious.
you guys judge, but if you put a little bit of chocolate on top of that, it's actually pretty
Amazing.
crunchy.
Dude, Chef's Table, that one dude makes ants in Brazil.
Yeah.
They taste like
I want to
lemongrass.
eat ants. I've never
apparently.
eaten ants.
They taste like lemongrass.
No, you know what? I'm
One day.
okay. They serve
Okay.
fucking
Good
salted
with that answer.
butter
I'm
and
good.
slugs, man. I don't need it. It's fine. Let the French eat it.
That's not a thing that I require in my life. Really.
Bugs in your mouth.
No. Don't.
I
need
feel
that.
like eating escargot is the adult way of eating your boogers. Like let's just call it like it is.
I
It's
feel
just
like it's the kind
something-
of thing that people do to prove that they can.
Yeah,
It's
that's all
like,
it is.
What?
This is the
Escargot
level.
with some butter and garlic. Dog.
So that's the level of my
Eating your
palate, you know?
boogers, Dodger. Eating your boogers.
With some butter and garlic. Dog.
Yes, cargo though.
Dead as escargot.
I'm not sure anyone has ever unironically said that escargot though.
That actually might be the first. Like
Yeah.
in a world where everything's been done already, that actually might have been the first.
The first and last time that happened.
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess that's Deus Ex. I mean, you know, the consensus outside of I just can't really get into it because I didn't play Human Revolution is mostly that it's a good game. Like it's the only real controversy seems to be there was a couple of hitches for some people with the PC Portal launch. It has improved since. It was fine for me, but you know, there's some other people having some issues, and people got a bit upset about the microtransaction thing. Which, yeah, that's always a good way to get your game Metacritic and Steam review bombed to hell, is include microtransactions in it. Generally not a
Oh,
good idea.
their pre-sale campaign was one of the worst I've ever seen in my life.
it
And they
absolutely
actually
was.
they abandoned it.
Yes, they did.
literally had to abandon it, but it
Yeah.
delayed the game a couple months too. It was one
Yeah.
of the worst things I've ever seen.
I mean, I shouted the hell out of that one. I mean, it was because it was terrible. It was an awful idea. I'm glad it didn't catch on. I don't think
Yep.
it's ever been done by anyone else since. Like, yeah, the more people you press gang into pre-ordering this fucking thing, the more shit we'll give you. It's like, that is horrifically insidious.
Yes.
It's like, great, yeah,
Sounds
convince
like
you.
something GameStop came
And
up.
well, they did. It was through GameStop. You know it's bad when one of the big poster boys for pre-ordering games like John even has to admit that it's bad. You
Yes,
know what I mean?
I'm known as a pre-ordering poster boy. Absolutely, I'm very much an advocate for pre-ordering every video game ever. Yes, thanks.
Go forth, Twitch chat, and spread the good news.
It's like if you're not pre-ordering a video game, then you
Pre-order
basically,
the world.
you're betraying the whole games industry. You're the reason No Man's Sky was shit. If it just had a few extra pre-orders, it would have been.
Yeah. On a serious note, though, like I actually kind of want to get to a point where, like, even to borrow a little bit of the lore from like Minority Report, I want a game that already knew I was going to fucking buy it. I don't even want pre-order. I want pre-order where like I already just have the money deducted from my account and I find out that this game's going to come out, but it's too late. I've already ordered it. Like that is the world I want. I think we can all agree that games knowing we're going to buy them before it's pre-order. Dodger.
Yeah, it's
Sorry,
kind of like
sorry, I'm letting you down. I'm sorry, I'm letting you down.
Have you seen every Tom Cruise movie? Nay, have you seen Minority Report?
you
I
go to-
have, but the Dinky Dinks.
Go to Activision. You're like, hey, I know you're gonna release another Call of Duty.
Activision. Can you
Just,
give me one of those Dinky Dinks so that I can do some of these?
Here's my bank account information. Just deduct it for the next Call of Duty already. Make 'em-
Well, that already happens. That's stupid.
Every game that you have ever made and will make in the next few years, I just want all of them.
That one's an age bracket algorithm, though. It's 10 to 12 years old. You already have the money subtracted from your mom's account for Call of Duty.
I think at some point what's going to happen is one publisher is going to provide a subscription that's just like, all the games we're going to release in the next year, you just get all of them. We're not going to tell you what the games are, but you're just going to get all of these
Oh
video
my
games.
God.
And some
that's
people
totally
would.
gonna happen.
They would.
I want to be a part of the ad agency that gets to advertise that because it'd be so fucking awesome. Like I would go like way old school infomercial with like, tired of clicking and purchasing games. It shows a person like, oh God, I can't hold my phone. Like, well, we've got it
such a
taken care of.
Prepay for everything, including stuff we haven't even announced yet. Just know it's gonna be great. Just
You know
get it
you're gonna play
anyway.
Madden 2025. Don't fucking kid yourself. Just already have it.
It's true.
How do they know?
That's why you can get EA access. I mean,
I know we told you
Yeah, access is
WoW
not the
Legion would be the
same
last
thing.
update, but it's a lie. It'll be coming out for the next 10 years.
It's like stuff like Access already exists, but that's for games that have already come out. I'm talking about for games that aren't out yet.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
they'll fix access to be like that.
Yeah, I'm sure. That'll definitely happen. Should we take a break? Sounds like a good idea. When we come back, talk a little bit more about the games we've been playing this week. Our sponsor for this week, squarespace.com/co-optional. Head on over there for 10% off your first order, squarespace.com/co-optional, because your website is bad, and they can help you not be bad. So we'll be back after the break.
I'm going there now, John.
Good. Excellent. Go and set up your website, squarespace.com/co-optional. It's easy. Even an iNcontroL can do it.
This is so easy to go into.
It's phenomenal. It is wonderful.
Class.
We'll be right back after the break. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. We've had a lot of fun over the past few months writing increasingly absurd commercials for Squarespace while cashing obscenely large sponsorship checks. The meta, the goofs, the meta goofs, the goof meta. It truly is the Citizen Kane of podcast adverts. However, there is a serious side to all of this. I'm here today to talk to you about a serious disease that is rapidly spreading across the World Wide Web. It's infectious, it will ruin your image, and it's far too easy to contract. I'm of course talking about the virus known as Your Website is God-Awful. Your Website is God-Awful, more commonly known by its Latin term lorem ipsum, oh god it's like GeoCities, is a surprisingly common but deadly disease affecting websites all over the world. Its symptoms may include poor navigational skills, terrible visual design resulting in eye cancer, constantly looping insanity-inducing music, non-functional e-commerce tools, the loss of all your customers, the loss of all your friends, the loss of particularly sensitive pets, and in some cases, the death of your business and/or credibility. For years now, many people have struggled to live with Your Website is God-Awful. They've resorted to alternative treatments such as professional web designers, commonly resulting in massive expenditure and eventual bankruptcy. But now, there's a cure that anyone can use. Introducing Squarespace. Squarespace is a service that lets you create a website for whatever you'd like with absolutely no experience required, while avoiding the deadly design pitfalls of Your Website is God-Awful. Squarespace templates are designed by licensed, accredited professionals, ensuring that they are easy to read and can be accessed on practically any device. Dedicated support ensures that in the unlikely event of problems with your Squarespace website, you can get them quickly resolved by a team of helpful professionals. Whether it's for personal use or to grow and build your business, Squarespace has all the tools to let your website flourish with no design experience required. You can even get 10% off your first treatment at squarespace.com/cooptional. Don't delay. Your website is god-awful, is highly contagious, and potentially deadly. Immunize yourself from its lethal effects by going to squarespace.com/cooptional and getting 10% off your first order. You can even grab your unique domain name at the same time with new Squarespace domains featuring no hidden fees, built-in WHOIS privacy, and no nasty surprises. Squarespace. Set your website apart. Side effects of Squarespace may include impressive design, clean layout, professional-looking websites, increasing sales, increasing credibility, impressed friends, impressed colleagues, impressed clients, and increasing self-worth, and increasing self-girth, augmented sexual performance, enhanced reflexes, sharper vision, inescapable feeling of satisfaction, partial enlightenment, increased awareness of your place in the universe, mental acceptance of your place in the universe, more dongs, potential resurrection for the gorilla, the surprise chart research to your favorite band, phenomenal cosmic power, the worst I've ever written, blindness, death, and probably none of these. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Co-optionaI Podcast. I saw what you were trying to do. You're trying to get away with the eating. Yeah. What is it?
I don't know what you mean.
Now you've got to admit what it is. What is it?
It's curry. It's Thai curry.
Oh, nice.
Classic.
Thai yellow
That sounds
curry.
pretty good.
Thai green curry.
Red.
Red curry.
You know what?
What?
Let's just make the creepy internet question for you. That should help with your bowel movement later.
It will. I'll have for sure fire poops later. Yeah.
There you go.
Absolutely. Fire being the opposite word. That's especially with Thai food.
That's how I imagine it.
Welcome back to the Co-optionaI Podcast, where you do occasionally talk about video games. So, of course, one of the biggest releases this week would be the expansion for World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
That is a thing. I think the
That
most
is a
experienced person when it comes to that would be you, Crendor. Did you play any of the beta?
Yes.
Cool.
I didn't do the quests in the beta, but I explored all the zones and I did the demon hunter thing. So
Sure.
I mainly just wanted to see what the zones were like. So I was like, are these zones cool? Or are they going to be whatever? And I really liked all of them, the aesthetic of all the zones. And now playing through them with quests, I like them even more.
I think it was smart not to do the quests in the beta. That's something that pissed me off, actually, when I did all of that stuff in the Cataclysm beta and then had to do the whole bloody lot again. It's well, this is now significantly less interesting than it was, you know.
What's really nice with this expansion, though, is they kind of let you level your own rate, zone. So, you can pick which zone you start in. It's not oh, you got to go to Howling Fjord, and then you got to go to here, and then you got to go to here, and then blah, blah, blah.
Well, you can go to any zone?
Yeah, and it just scales.
Oh, okay. That's actually pretty
So
neat.
you can be oh, I think Valshara is pretty crowded, so I'll just go to High Mountain, which is it's what Jesse and I did.
Yeah, that sounds like the most sensible thing to do. I mean, God, expansion launch day is always a nightmare. I remember when they released Wrath, it's so we've got 2 zones you can start in, because we know how much of a clusterfuck it was when it's oh, you're all on Hellfire Peninsula, there's no mobs anywhere. It's just
And, this has been probably the smoothest launch, I think, out of every WoW expansion. There's been no lag, no DCs, no anything. It's been perfect, practically. It's been amazing. And I've been having a lot of fun with it. I leveled all the way through Valshara on EU, because I got an alliance on EU, and then on Horde with me and Jesse, we went to High Mountain. And I've enjoyed both zones a lot. High Mountain's a little more standard WoW. It's gonna do the quests. There's some mini storylines all over, while Valshara was there's some major lore shit going on here, and you're oh my god, so it's more linear. But I've enjoyed both a lot.
Yeah, I resubbed after 4 years.
I saw.
Decided, hey, I'll give it a shot. I mean, I'm a sucker for Burning Crusade. I always was. That was the best time I ever had in WoW was Burning Crusade, and Legion evokes a lot of that aesthetically in terms of story. So I'm you know what? I got nothing better to do right now. We'll give it a shot. So I took the opportunity to just boost my character up to 100, because I'm am I going to play through 2 expansions worth of questing content when I don't like questing? No, I'm not. I'll just press the boost button. I'm fine with that. Saw all of my gear get replaced by greens that are twice the item level that they were. It's right, well, that was that. Just
You'll probably enjoy the questing more. This is some of the best questing they've done too. So it's not just go grind some stuff. It actually has some substance behind each thing. So it's a little more fun. That and when you do your class quests, which you probably so when you start, you get your artifact weapon. And so if you want to be Frost or Fire, or whatever you are, since you're a mage. You pick that, and then you get to go do like
Fire,
artifact.
always, every time, every expansion. Doesn't
so
matter.
the fire artifact quest is really cool. Like at the end of it, you get to go to Ice Crown Citadel, and you're like doing shit, and you like get the weapon, and the Lich King's like, yes, you get the like. It's crazy. I won't spoil anything, but
Cool.
it's really fun.
I'm looking forward to the artifacts. Look interesting. The problem I sort of have with the artifact system from looking at it's like, well, won't that mean everyone just ends up with the same weapon? I know there's a degree of customization with the weapons, though.
Yeah, like it does have. Like I was looking through a lot of it, and each weapon kind of like has its own talent tree.
Yeah.
So you can like spec it however you want, and like different gems and pathways, and you can
you
change
transmog an
colors.
artifact weapon to look like something else or not?
They have a lot of customization options.
Oh, okay.
Built into it. Like
that's
I already
fair enough.
changed. For example, I have my fire mage on EU, and I already made it so it's purple instead of red. And I was like, nice, I have a purple flaming like sword thing. So, and then they have like a bunch of other customization below it. That was just the one thing I did.
Fair
So,
enough. The
it's
first
pretty
thing I
cool.
did when I logged in was you log in after not logging in 4 years, it decides you need a tutorial again. So in this case, it puts you on a boat, which is going into the introductory segment. It's like, yeah, we're gonna teach you how to be a mage again. You got to do it as a frost mage, though. It's like, here's how frost bolts work. Here's how the icy fingers of frost and everything work. So you fight a bunch of stuff. You get some basic abilities, just enough to get you through the opening sequence, and then you get a big opening sequence that's very lore heavy, and you fight through different stages, and there's a bunch of players that come along with you. I guess you all get dumped into, I think they call it a scenario or something.
Yeah, it's the scenario.
Yeah, they dump you into a scenario, so you do all that. That was fine for sort of reminding me. It's like, yes, okay, I kind of remember the rotations now and how things work. And then they do a bunch of big lore stuff, and then they dump you back in Azeroth, and it's like, all right, cool. Now get on with it. So I immediately spec'd back to fire when that happened. It's like, because they force you to start with frost if you do the level boost. It's like, oh, yeah disgusting. So went back to fire and started getting around it, and I was trying to remember exactly where everything was in Orgrimmar. Like, to be honest, like the Orgrimmar remodel happened in Cataclysm, so I kind of remembered where things were for the most part. Couldn't find the fucking bank anywhere. It's like, where the hell is that? Eventually, went and found the bank.
Mainly being Dalaran.
Yeah, I haven't been sent there yet. I mean, to be fair, I haven't really done any of the quests other than the scenario and the stuff that you have to do immediately after that.
Oh yeah, you have to do the Khadgar chain, which is actually pretty fun, like little
touched that.
chain. So like you go with Khadgar, and like he's like, we gotta go do shit, and then you like go to Karazhan, and he's like, I put traps here in Karazhan. Like, I don't know, it's fun. It's like a little quest line that leads up to the expansion.
For me personally, like the ending of Legion was really disappointing. Like the whole we're plugged into the Matrix thing again. Ugh, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the second time they pulled that. It's terrible.
Draenor, you mean?
Yeah, I mean that. Sure.
Yeah, then Draenor is the internet. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. I never liked time traveling in a lot of things. It's just
Isn't Warlords of Draenor nothing but that? Like, we just fucking retconned everything cause time travel.
Yeah, they're like, we went back in time, and then they're like, we're in a different timeline, so nothing is the same. And then Gul'dan's like, I'm gonna go back to your timeline. So now the Draenor timeline, Gul'dan is in our timeline, and we went back. But then Draenor timeline people are like, if you ever need us, just let us know. And we're like, right, and we just close the timeline. Like,
okay. I'm glad I don't give a damn about the story, because at this point it seems like a mess, an utter mess.
It drives Jesse
insane. So
can't keep track of anything. It's like, all right, you killed off half the main characters within like the first 5 minutes. Great. All right, let's get going from there. It
seems like the biggest mistake you can make in most like universes is just go to time travel, because then unless it's X-Men, and then you're saving yourself. Then it's
obviously. Yeah.
I'm still convinced that they did it because they wanted to do the like Warcraft movie.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I mean, I think like the Warcraft movie stands quite nicely on its own and does. I mean, yeah, I still think that was actually a really good movie.
I enjoyed it.
It was a good video game movie. You know, probably the best video game movie. I can't think of a better one.
Mortal Kombat. Shut up, John. It is 100%
oh,
the
please.
best.
Mortal Kombat is good in the same way that Hackers is good. You know, you watch Hackers every 6 months to laugh at the references to old technology. And you watch Mortal Kombat because it's just that was a one that tried to embrace how stupid the Mortal Kombat universe generally is and didn't take it seriously. Whereas there was other video game movies like, we're gonna do things really seriously. Oh god, let's do a Mario movie where everyone's actually a human and not a Mario character and all this shit.
I watched Mortal Kombat when I was like 7, so it was really cool.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah,
dude, the first Mortal Kombat movie is great. The second one is gore.
Awful. God, damn,
Con and styrofoam shoulder pads.
Jesus Christ. I think the time is right for another Mortal Kombat movie.
That fan-made one was incredible.
Well, wasn't there the one that was done on Machinima Prime that was well-funded and actually really quite good? Yeah.
Give those guys $1 million, let them do more of that. That was amazing.
Absolutely.
Machinima doing something good. Wow.
Yeah, it happened. When they get a lot of money,
but then in Machinima fashion, like got a lot of views, but then disappeared forever. Like there's no follow-up.
It's like, this is good. Better not follow that up. Yeah.
Well, they did. After that, they did the Dragon Ball Z short film. I think
they did a Dragon Ball Z short. I wasn't aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
It was like pretty okay.
Yeah, interesting.
The Power Ranger one was cool too. Whoever did that one.
Oh yeah! Holy shit! I forgot about the Power Ranger one.
Yeah, that is definitely true.
These like, that show you watched when you were a child. What if it was
make it dark?
What if it was gritty? Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I'm okay with all of those things.
Yeah.
It's like, let's take anything.
Like,
absolutely. Fucking let's get a reboot of Biker Mice from Mars and just make it a super gritty gang war.
Street Sharks, bro.
Street Sharks. I was just about to say. Oh my god, I would totally watch gritty Street Sharks.
Yes! Can you imagine
people
walking down the street and a fucking a great white just leaps out of the sidewalk and bites somebody?
Dude, I forgot all about Street Sharks.
You could do it as from the perspective of a noir investigator. It's like 5 more corpses found today. Ripped to shreds. He's just sucking on a cigarette. He's in a dark office, saxophone music playing behind it.
What animal's doing this?
What kind of animal could do that?
He keeps just being haunted by the sound of skateboards.
Yes. He drinks to forget
rollerblade. No!
He drinks to forget the pain.
What is this?
What are we fighting?
I know it.
I'm okay with that. Gritty reboots of old cartoons, yes. Any time that would be awesome. But yeah, back to WoW for a second. It seems like the same game it always was, and let's be honest, it's never gonna get beyond that. It's gonna be the quintessential hotkey MMO.
Yeah.
But there's some nice quality of life features.
Like it updating the old core they have to work with.
Yeah, because it's been shit piled upon shit piled upon shit. It's like Jeff can testify to the sorry state of the StarCraft 2 engine. Well, WoW's even fucking worse than that, and they've been building on that same sand, castle of sand for 10 years. I'm surprised it even runs at this point.
I think they switched the SE2 engine over to the Heart of the Swarm engine, which was...
They updated it a bit, but it still runs like crap. Trying to, it doesn't properly utilize as many cores as it should. It doesn't multi-thread very well. It doesn't scale well at all with GPUs. But Heroes of the Storm had the same issue as well. It's I think it's almost like they made Overwatch because oh god, finally we can make a game that's not on a 10-year-old engine. Let's go, and as a result, it runs beautifully on almost anything, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But I was still quite impressed by some of the quality of the cinematics in the opening scenes. It's it still looks like WoW, but it's a little sharper than I remember. The character
cinematics are really good.
My troll runs a bit more naturally. He's got a bit of swagger in his step. I like it. There's a little bit more detail on his face, so all that sort of thing. And then, of course, as soon as I got the access to it, I immediately took my shitty green boost gear and transmogged it back to my old Zolaman era stuff. I've got my Kel'Thuzad sword and my Zolaman voodoo mask and all. I found that I still have transmog access to my old Season 1 PvP Spolders from when they first brought the arena system out. I'm like, wow, those are probably pretty rare. I should wear those. That's a status symbol now.
Yeah, transmog's really cool for those reasons.
Yeah, I just wish I had more of the stuff that I used to have, because the problem is, it seems like if you threw it away and you don't currently possess it, or didn't possess it around when the first system first came in, you can't use it anymore. Because
it's very different from how Diablo works, because in Diablo you can literally pick something up and then toss it and be like, cool, I can transmog into that if I want to someday.
You can do that now. You can do it in WoW as well. The problem is all the really cool stuff that I remember having from the first game before the first expansion even came out, I didn't keep it. So they didn't keep a record that I owned it from that point. Right. So I can't wear my tier 2 Netherwind shoulder pads that look like giant, like, office-grade water bottles. You know, I can't wear that stupid shit anymore. But
I still have all my Transcendence gear, and I always just keep doing that.
yeah. I'm now actually tempted to go back and just, because you can solo all that shit now, and just farm it. Go to Blackwing Lair and kill everything in Blackwing Lair to get my Netherwind back, just because I feel like it. Because I know Jen's been doing a lot of that. She's been wanting just like cool transmog gear and everything, so she goes and solo stuff. I might go do something like that, but
she's got like 9 level 100s.
9 level 100s, yes, yeah, she
likes the game.
It's just the thing she does. You know, I think for her it's like this is my happy place where I just go and play.
It's relaxing.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I'm happy when people say they can have something like that.
Yeah, they can just get involved in it. But no, I'll see. I'll play for a little bit. I'm not convinced I'll stick around. I remember some really cool times in WoW, and it would be cool if that happened again. Maybe the expansion will bring that feeling to me, and then that'll be all right.
The tough thing too is that it's a different time though. Like a lot of your cool moments were probably with a group of people you were playing with back then. And,
it really was, yeah. And trying to recapture that is difficult.
Yeah,
it really is. I don't know. Maybe it'll do it. Maybe it won't. I'll bash around with it, but we'll see. It looks like a pretty successful expansion launch where everything hasn't gone to hell. So I guess they've learned over 10 years of launching expansions how not to fuck it up so badly. Yeah. So it's cool.
I love it.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes. So it's a game I played a little bit earlier today, actually, that just came out that had a bit of presence at PAX East called Livelock, which is
Livelock.
Yeah, Livelock. It's a 3-player sort of co-op twin stick game where you play, I assume, like your cyborgs or some shit like that, and you beat the shit out of stuff. I picked a guy called Vanguard, and his first weapons are just giant fists, and I just punch other robots, and they fly across the screen and shit like that. It doesn't really do much that hasn't been done before, but it feels like a solid co-op game, especially in hard mode. Like, I've got a shield that I can use, so if we approach a bunch of enemies that are firing at, like, the healer at the back, I can put my shield up, kind of like Reinhardt in Overwatch, and there's abilities that really synergize well with each other, and you can upgrade your weapons and stuff like that. It doesn't do anything new, but it's a $20 game that feels just really solid. Like, when you punch something, it comes apart in a really satisfying way. The guns all feel like they've got real impact to them. The abilities all feel impactful. It looks good. It feels slick to play. And I think with a group of 3 who are working together on VoIP, playing on hard mode, I think it would be pretty cool. We played a couple of levels on hard, myself and Force. He was playing the healer at the back, and I was playing the tank. We played it on normal. It's like, well, this seems a bit easy. We're just kind of spamming away and blowing stuff up. And then we went hard mode. It's like, oh, if you don't use your abilities properly, you're fucking dead real fast. They made the smart decision of just upping the damage and not making everything like a bullet sponge. So you can still kill the enemies in a couple of hits, but they can also kill you really quickly. So you've got to be more strategic with working together and using your abilities at the right time. And it's a $20 co-op game, $20 twin stick kind of melee top-down game that just feels good. It looks good. Everything about it seems really polished. So, yeah, I'm enjoying that at the moment. Probably play a few more hours of that. That seems like something that's worth picking up if you've got 2 more friends that you just want to play a 3-player sort of healer tank DPS game with giant robots. That's what that game is for the most part.
A game that I played yesterday is the new Attack on Titan game.
Yeah.
Oh,
and it's actually like pretty nice. It follows the story of the manga / anime, so you start from the beginning when they first like join the core and everything.
Is it that one that the video is flying around of?
Which video?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's like a pretty good looking, almost third person. You fly around and grab on top of the monsters. And
yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a fan game that came out before that, and I think there was a 3DS game.
And it was terrible.
Yeah, it was awful. Movement-wise, this looks like they've kind of grasped what the whole maneuvering gear is supposed to be like. What do you reckon to how that system works?
It's interesting. I like it. I think that it's really responsive. And I like the way that they have made it so that each character that's in Attack on Titan is like a little bit different depending on what they're supposed to be good at. So like Mikasa is really good with like her movements. Like she's really, really fast. Armin has like a special ability where he can call out commands. So you can like have a team of people And if you're playing as Armin, then you can like tell them to hit certain Titans or hit certain weak points instead of being the one who like deals the blow. But overall,
You
yeah.
want to maybe try that sentence again, being the one that deals the blow? I was like, well, that's an interesting class. Like, choose your class: warrior, priest, drug dealer.
Sometimes it doesn't choose you, John. You choose it.
The thug
God,
life
the other
chooses
way.
you. Yeah.
The reason that I was thinking about it after you were talking about how to increase difficulty is because in this game, most of what I played was really easy. It's very simple to just be like, okay, which body part do you want to attack? Okay, cool. Then you like latch onto it with your 3D maneuver gear, you rush in, you hit the nape and it's dead, right? And so I was wondering how it was going to get more difficult. And I was noticing that the longer I played, it would be things like, yes, if you were able to rush in there and hit the nape, then you were good. But being able to get there became more difficult. So like you would attach, but maybe it was moving really erratically and you'd get thrown off, you know, or like once you were thrown in the air, it would be really quick to like snatch you and grab you and you would have to wrestle to get out of its hand. Things like that I thought were a really good way to increase the difficulty. And also just as there were more of those, it was easy to get overwhelmed. And I've been
think
told
level design would have a lot to do with it in Attack on Titan game as well. Because those who watch the anime, the theme of it is that the only way you can fight these giant titans is by having what's called 3D maneuver gear, which is a set of sort of gas-powered grappling hooks that you use to propel yourself through the air. But they really push this point during the show that being in an area that doesn't have a lot of stuff to grab onto, like buildings and stuff, is extremely dangerous. Like, if you're on the ground, you might as well be fucking dead. And it seems to me like they could up the ante by making the levels more sparse in terms of buildings and high points to jump on.
There are still a lot of buildings in what I've played. I've played in like a woodsy area and I've played in a sort of a city area. And if you don't plan it out right, it's very easy to just like launch yourself straight into a building and be like, fuck, you know, like totally
You've
lose
lost
your
all
momentum.
your momentum and then you just get eaten.
Yeah. But they've done things like, you know, you have to make sure that your blades are okay and that you have plenty of gas and there are people around that can resupply you. So you have to be thinking about that. You do have a way to sort of launch yourself. So other than the 3D maneuver gear, you can also just kind of expend a bunch of gas and just kind of shoot yourself in one direction.
That's probably like necessary for a game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like that's a compromise that they make over the law because well, if you get stuck in the middle of nowhere, then that's going to suck. You really want to get your momentum going again because that's... I'm watching the gameplay that Cinnamon Toast Ken was playing. It's like, it looks like once you get a mastery of this movement, it would be really satisfying to do it right.
It's fun. Yeah, I think that it's really fun.
And
again,
reminds me of like you remember the old Spider-Man games, like Spider-Man 2? That was really, really cool. It kind of reminds me of that a bit.
That's what I was thinking too. It has that really satisfying, just like swinging,
getting real,
and as long as you don't fuck up.
Yeah. Don't set yourself face first pancaking into a building. Yeah.
Yeah. So the one thing that makes this game, as a person who has both read the manga and watched the anime, and I'm not going to spoil anybody who hasn't, but they have all of the characters that you know, right, from the beginning of the story. And if you fuck up and like don't help somebody out there, sometimes it'll say something funny like, Annie is dead. And I'm like, are you sure? Sometimes it'll like point out specific characters because it gives you side quests, and it basically says like, if you feel like you can do the side quest without accidentally, you know, ignoring the main quest and being overrun, then by all means do them. And normally the side quests are like somebody in your squadron is like getting beaten back, right? And you need to go and help them.
But does sometimes it pick lore important characters that are in the anime that shouldn't die?
Sometimes it'll be like Connie. It'll be like, oh, Connie died. And I'm like,
To be fair, that would be quite cool if you could
Story.
just utterly fuck up the main storyline that way.
I know. I was like, wait, so what happens now?
I hope that actually happens. That would be great. It's like, yeah, so all the important characters are dead in the first mission. It's like, oh, all right then.
It's not though, because
That's a
it'll
shame.
say that they died, and then in the next scene they'll be there.
Oh, fuck that.
Even more mysterious.
How did that
they
happen?
come back to life?
Hmm.
So
Is that even them?
yeah. So
This-
other than that, sort of throwing me off and feeling kind of
Being a bit
funny.
weird.
I
look
do think
terrible.
that playing the game is really satisfying.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I might try that out. I like the idea of games with really cool maneuvering and movement systems that let you get up a lot of speed and momentum.
I like games where you chop the spinal column of a gigantic monster.
That's helpful too. I
Right at
think
the
there's
base.
a lot of satisfaction to be had
Yeah.
with that.
I think it's fun, you know.
We'll see.
Another game I've been playing, you guys probably already talked about it too. Have you guys talked about Total War Warhammer a whole lot?
We did a couple of weeks ago. We haven't.
Yeah,
haven't
a
talked
while
it
back.
Well, there
since.
was new content.
Yeah, there
guys.
was a new
Okay?
expansion, right? The new race.
Yeah.
New content
Is
has
there an
come out,
expansion?
Chad.
You would
It's
like
called
this,
Beast.
Dodger. You can be beast people. You can be
Oh,
Minnesota.
hell yeah, I can.
Expansion.
No, it's really cool, and it came out at the same time as the Blood for the Blood God pack, which is just extra violence on things, and-
Literally adding blood for money. Yes.
which was cool. But I felt like I got my $2.99 of blood, which is what it cost. But I was
Yes.
kind of hoping for like,
That's not the first time
Cartoon
they've
blood.
done that. And the excuse they make
No, they do it
is
every
that
year.
if they put that amount of blood in some countries, it would receive a higher age rating.
you know
so
what?
they make it optional. I don't know if I buy that.
Then don't let those countries play the game. That's the way I feel about it. You know, if you,
You gotta
can't
teach
handle,
them. They gotta learn. They gotta learn.
you
Teach
can't
those
handle
politicians.
oceans of. But I do like that's so funny. Like, what's this? You know, like what parent walks into a room and is like, "What are you playing there, Jimmy?" And he's like, "Oh, it's Total War Warhammer." And there's like thousands of people hacking each other up, and they're like, the mom looks in and is like, "You know what? That looks like realistic amounts of blood and gore. I'm pretty okay with this." They walk away. They come back over. They're like, "What are you playing there, Jimmy?" And there's just like you can't hear him because there's just like sloughing blood and gore and like just
Pools and rivers of
people
it
dying, and they're like, "Jimmy, get away from the computer!" And they like tear him away. I don't know.
There's
I understand it's a
yeah.
ratings thing, but I think that's
There's
really
a difference
funny.
between a realistic amount of fantasy massacre and an unrealistic amount of fantasy massacre, and that crossed the line. Damn it!
That's what. But I would. I know I'm just an argumentative son of a bitch, but I would be like, I think over the top blood's probably better for kids than like, you know, like realistic blood. Like, oh, that's what it looks like when you chop a man's arm off. Okay.
Yeah,
Or it's like you chop his arm off and he's shooting
know there
300
were
feet to the left because the jet stream of his blood is so high pressure that it just launches him across the field. Like, and I think it would sell really well too. By the way, I'm like, if you hit a guy in the head with an axe and his head went like 500 feet, like the physics engine just went through hell. That'd be a
love that.
really cool game.
I love it.
I like
Bounced off a
imagining
mountain,
it.
rolled back, and actually knocked over like a division of crossbow men at the back. Just the giant head. But
People
yeah.
just start falling and slipping because there's just literally an ocean of
I
blood.
would.
that just-
I thought that would be brilliant.
Yes, that would
I
be
really
amazing.
enjoyed that game though, and I played it like when it
It-
first came out. But I haven't
It's
really
a cool
played it.
game. It's a cool game. It's an interesting experience where like I've enjoyed playing it for a day 0.5, but when I'm done with a run or quest or you know whatever, I'm pretty done with it for a while
You can
because
put it down for a while.
Yeah.
Towards
I felt
the
like
end
that
of
with
it-
Total War, actually. Yeah, all the Total
Yeah.
War games.
after 10 hours, like it is fun to watch those battles, and I do like how detailed they are, and especially if you have a gorgeous computer, like it's just ridiculous. It's so cool. But at the same time, like, once you've done it for like 5 hours, that's it. You've seen, you know, when you've got the highest tech tree and stuff like that, it's pretty
Yeah.
straightforward. And then each fight does become fairly repetitive. These are the guys that flank. These are the guys that sit back and shoot. These are the guys that charge. You get a little
Yeah.
bit of joy out of it, but you get one playthrough and then you're done, which is okay. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but that I felt that to be the experience for sure.
Yeah, I feel like that's the Total War attitude. It's not the only thing. Like I felt the same thing with like Civilization and stuff like that. I get really invested in a run. Once it's over, I'm like, I don't have the desire to immediately start another one because I feel like I invested so much into that run. I don't really want to start again from scratch. Another game that I've been playing like over the last couple of days, which is very relevant to that, is Master of Orion, the remake of that.
You've been playing a lot of that.
I'm gonna put 22 hours into it over the course of like 2.5 days, which
That's
is
a lot, John. By the way, for
I mean-
those of us on the outside,
That's
that's a lot.
it's more than it sounds because I don't remember the last time I did that with a game. it's pretty rare. I've been having a lot of difficulty focusing on games lately. Like, you'd think that I played a bunch of Deus Ex. I didn't. Like, I played for like an hour. I couldn't focus on it for like more than an hour for whatever reason. And then I ran Master of Orion, you know, having played I played the first version when it went to early access, and thought, you know what? Production value wise, this looks slick. This looks great, but there's nowhere near enough content. I don't want to play it right now. I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna wait for it to come out because I don't want to disappoint myself. Loaded it up, played for like fucking 6 hours straight, not really realizing that I had, and then like, oh, okay, I actually got in, you know, I really entered the zone on a game for once. And I think those kind of games do that to me. Civilization does that to me. Total War games have done that to me in the past, and in this case, Master of Orion did it to me as well. But you can get really exhausted by that because you got so immersed in everything that was going on. Wiping the slate clean and starting again feels really, it's actually difficult to do it. And I try it a couple of times. I usually give up after like turn 20 because I'm like, you know what? I just had a blast doing that run, but I don't feel like re-establishing everything that I did. Because those guys have a lot of setup, you know?
When I play Civ, I play it multiplayer, and everyone's like, yeah, here we go. And then you're like really excited at the start, like, oh man, I'm going to be the best. And like, no, I'm going to be the best. And then you like keep going. And then it's like the game progresses, it slows down because people start fighting. And then you start seeing some people get ahead, and you're like, whatever. And then everyone just...
Well, literally the last 2 times that I've played Civ, it's been as like the tag in final person you guys needed in a game. I've been like, okay, I guess I'll play some Civ. And I see it happen. It's amazing. At the very beginning, everybody's like, yeah, fuck you, I'm going to win. And the second one person pulls ahead, everybody gives up. They're like, well, I guess you're going to win now.
Yeah.
Just fucking,
I kind of have the opposite problem with it. I feel like in games like that, if I get so far ahead, I lose my motivation to play it. Like, there was one run of Master of Orion where that happened. I played it. My first run was on normal mode, and I was pretty far through the tech tree. I'm like, you know what? Nobody in this entire fucking universe, this whole playthrough, has really challenged me for anything. I've run through everybody I've wanted to, and literally every war, I've had to start it because no one else will fucking fight me. They want ally to fight me. And at that point, because I think in a game like that, you have a lot of these really small sub-objectives, like, oh, I'm going to go get that planet, so I've got to build a colony ship to get the planet. I've got to secure the borders around that planet to make sure no pirates don't come and get it. Oh, cool, I've got the planet, right. And now it needs a robotic factory, and now I need to start really getting the production going. I need to increase the population of the planet, blah, blah, blah. So you have all these little turn-by-turn objectives. If you ever run out of those, it suddenly takes you right out of the game. You're like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, why did I just spend the last 4 hours doing that? And it's especially true when the game stops challenging you. Because if you're in a war with an empire, like, you always have an objective. So, oh god, fleet's coming here. I've got to move my fleet to defend this. All right. Oh, okay, I see what he's using. He's using a lot of missiles. I should redesign my ship so they have a lot of point defense and ECM and stuff like that. So you redesign your ships, and you upgrade your ships, and you remanufacture a new fleet, and you lose a fleet, and then you build another one. And then as soon as, like, it's like either you get a peace treaty or you wipe them out, and like, now what? Fuck. I was motivated
for the next war,
this.
man.
Yeah, you have to go on to the next war. You really do. Because at that point, he's like, I just lost all motivation for playing. Because the driving force behind what I was doing the last few hours suddenly stopped. And then you get, especially if you're winning, you're like, well, you know what? I might as well quit and say that I won. Because I'm going to win. I know I'm going to win. But the process of me now finishing the game is too laborious for me to bother with. So I'm just like, I call this a win. There's no one around to check it. I'm going to start the next one. And then you realize, oh, fuck.
Like,
now I've got no tech.
Civilization 6, they like sped up the process of games or something to make them go faster. That's what I was reading.
Yeah,
I don't know how they've done it.
I mean, there's a lot of scalability when it comes to that. You know, you can run Civ at a really slow speed, really fast speed, whatever you want, really.
Yeah. But it's like 1 more month till it's out or something, like a month and a half. I'm excited. Yeah.
Have any of you guys played Turing Test yet?
No.
I
don't even know what that is.
Oh, it's the game. It's kind of like, I don't know, atmospherically it feels like Dead Space meets Portal.
Okay.
So you play this girl who wakes up. She's been like put to sleep on a spaceship, not put to sleep like to die, but just like all of the other people that are on the crew went down to a planet, and so she's been put into like a long-term sleep while they're on the planet. So she's woken up by like the onboard AI, and he's like, we don't have contact with anybody who's supposed to be on that planet. And she's like, well, shit. So she's sent down to sort of figure out what's going on. And when you go into their like space station, it's just filled with like really weird puzzles. So you're like trying to figure out what happened to these people while also doing these not Portal-esque, but like it kind of feels like Portal. It's lots of like, okay, I'm grabbing energy from this one and I need to put energy into this one to open this door to like get to this area, and then fuck, I need that energy from back there, but how do I get it and still get through this door, right? Like that sort of stuff. I like it so far. I'm terrible at it because when I hit that point where I go, wait, but I do need that energy from back there, but I just went through this door, but I guess there were two energies. Oh, but the other energy was the one that got me in this room in the first place. Maybe I can grab that energy, but then once I walk through here, what am I going to do with it? Because this is actually glass. It's not actually an open door like I thought it was, right? Like, and I can't, my brain doesn't work through those sorts of puzzles very easily.
No, I hate games like that. This is giving me Talos Principle vibes. Did you play that?
I did not. I don't think so.
I heard great things about the Talos Principle. But then I was like, oh, it's got some really complex puzzles that'll really bend your brain. Like, you know what? My brain is not flexible. It ain't very bendy.
My brain has been bended enough. Thank you.
I can't handle that.
Brain. You will not believe.
Can't handle that at all. Absolutely not.
It seems like there's cool stuff in there. I just have to get through the puzzles to find like the cool story stuff, right? I'm just like, fuck. And the only person you have with you is Tom, the AI, who's like, don't worry, bro, we got this. And I'm like, you are so unhelpful.
God damn it, Tom.
It's like, you know, just tell me how this happened. And also, how the fuck did someone spend all this time setting up puzzles on a remote fucking planet? What the shit happened here?
There's supposed to be like spatial understanding Turing tests. So AI.
If it's a Turing, I was going to say if it's a Turing test, they're testing AI, right? I mean, that's the purpose of the Turing test.
Right. And so when you first get on there, Tom's like, oh, these are set up in a way where no AI could ever solve these puzzles. And you're like, why? And he's like, oh, because like the way that it's trying to identify like space only works for a human brain. And you're like, oh, all right.
Okay. Except then you realize, like, actually, I'm a really dumb human, so it doesn't work for me either.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, Tom, you have so much faith in me. Like, I could never finish these puzzles as an AI. I'm like, but Tom, I can't finish these puzzles as a human. What are we going to do?
Well, get stuck here. Enjoy that.
Fucking Tom, goddamn.
Fuck Tom.
Fucking Tom.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I can think of is that, like, I'm a new kind of AI. Or like a new form of robot.
Oh,
I don't know.
You think that's the revelation? You're actually the robot?
Yeah.
And this is proving that you're truly sentient?
Yeah, something like that.
That seems a little too obvious. Like, that almost seems like that's what it's expecting you to believe. And as a result, that's not what it actually is.
Yeah. So
interesting. All right.
So there's that. And I also played... Well, I played the super alpha in case of emergency release Raptor, which was like...
Do you like it, or... Because apparently the dev didn't. I mean, the dev's like, fuck this, and pulled it from Steam, so...
Well, yeah, it was literally... I don't know, it was more of a proof of concept than anything. Like, it kind of throws you into this weird industrial area, and you get to run around as a raptor, and you can bite things, or you can swipe things. And it's like, destroy 10 robots, but you can't, like you would use this one to move and this one to look around, right? In a normal game. I could not figure out how to look around at all. So I would be running into stuff because I couldn't see around me at all. Like, I wasn't able to see what direction I'm looking. And I was like, wow, you can tell this is very, very alpha.
You have way more patience than I do. I would hit that I'd hit that for exactly 3 seconds and be like, all right, fuck it.
I'm Jeff on that, man. It's my job to look at this stuff, but I am like that. Like, something can set me off that'll completely put me off a game immediately, and I'll just put it down and just not play it again. And I mean, that's why I avoid early access for the most part. But even full release games have done that. Like, something that I haven't gotten on the first few minutes. First impressions do matter. They genuinely do, especially when you get so many games sent to you that you can never play all of them. If one pisses me off even slightly, I usually just put it down and move on to the next one.
So I
Yeah.
played a game that has been notoriously looked at as just terrible.
Okay.
And
Go on.
the ruiner
No
of a
Man's Sky. We already talked about it.
and it was Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts.
Oh,
I
yeah.
keep seeing you tweet about
So-
that.
For my sub goals, I love Banjo-Kazooie. That was like my favorite game as a kid, and I had never like beat it. So like I did a mega stream a few months ago where I just live streamed the entire process of me beating it, and it was really fun. I was like, that's awesome. And I'm like, for the next sub goal, we'll do Banjo-Tooie. So we did that, and it took even longer, but it was even more fun. I was like, this is great. And then I was like, I need to see how bad
Nuts
this
and
game is.
bolts.
Because everyone's like, yeah, it's the worst. I'm like, yeah, I was expecting Banjo 3. I was so pumped, and then they're like, it's a car game, but I never played it. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna play it. So I played it last weekend, and it was something.
It's as bad as they say it was.
It was okay. They make the joke right at the start, like nobody wants to play platformers anymore. Nobody wants collectathons.
Uh-huh.
And then they're like, all right, so make your car and you're gonna go collect shit. And I'm like, what?
But you just said.
Yeah,
said-
You need the nuts and bolts, Crendor.
And then they're like, okay. And then the third level, I had to quit by the third level because they made a giant level of like nostalgic stuff. Like, here's all the old zones. You're just gonna drive around. I'm like, I can't do it. It's mocking me.
It was
It's
literally
mocking-
just pissing on your head, you know?
Yeah, they're like, is this the game you want? You remember this?
But you're not getting it. You're not having
You're
it.
getting it.
That
Oh
is.
my god.
I remember watching John Tron's video on Nuts and
Yeah.
Bolts, and it was just like, I just had this feeling, it's like, this game on its own doesn't seem that bad. It's just they should not have called it Banjo-Kazooie at all. Like,
yeah, it didn't
if-
have to be Banjo-Kazooie.
if it was its own thing, this doesn't look terrible. Like, it seems like
Well,
it has some redeeming qualities.
It was okay. It was cool to build the cars. It was like cool to like do all that, but like the actual like things you have to do is like go race this guy and get a quest, or like
Uh-huh.
go collect these things and come back. It was a lot of fetching. There's a lot of fetching, or like fly around and turn off 3 things in your helicopter mobile, and it's like it becomes mind numbing after a while, like not even worth doing. And I'm like, I can't do this. And I made it like a fourth of the way through, and I stopped.
Well, that's
So,
unfortunate.
You still have more patience than John and I then.
Yeah, I've
The
only wouldn't have gone
ukulele.
that far.
Ukulele's coming. I'm very excited because it's gonna fulfill my childhood void that's been missing in me.
Man, if that game disappoints people, there will be a riot.
Absolutely.
Well,
I feel like
all
we
the
are-
People can only take so many crowd-funded shit fests.
Well, apparently everyone that's played like the little things they released, like the sandbox and like the trailers and the E3 stuff, like everyone's like, this is great.
Yes,
So, I
that's
mean-
the impression most people seem to have gotten.
Yeah.
So this is definitely going in the right direction.
Like it's the typical old platformer, like same type of humor, same style, same gameplay. Like, so I'm excited for that. I think it'll be good.
That's cool. At least
So-
I'm glad that at least will probably not piss everybody off.
Yeah.
It's not out yet, but it'll be playable at PAX West, and I'm super, super fucking excited for is Dawn of War 3.
Oh yeah.
That the trailer they released for it, sans the strangely euphoric orgasming space marine, was
Uh-huh.
gorgeous, and incredible.
Best Marines.
Dude, Dodger, if you haven't seen it, it is so fun because it's straight up war porn, amazing, like giant robot fighting, explosions, and then it cuts to a slow motion picture of the space marine, and I kid you not, his face is just
He's
in like a painfully 10-second long slow motion, like, what are we grabbing here? Is he just like war? Thank God.
in this moment. I am euphoric. Not because of some phony chaos god's blessing, but because I am
yeah.
enlightened by the Emperor, savior
But even
of
the idea of a
mankind.
space marine being euphoric is ridiculous. Like he doesn't have real feelings. For
No,
the
they
most part.
kind of don't.
And
That's
like everything in his body would be like, fight on, war. But he's just like, you know what?
I'm gonna just enjoy the moment.
I'm just chilling.
I'm just enjoying the moment.
But anyways,
I'm very interested to see what they do
yeah.
with that, because Dawn of War and Dawn of War 2, I loved both of them, but I loved them
For
for
their time.
different reasons.
yeah.
Dawn of War 1, really solid RTS. A lot of RTS-like mechanics, base building, all that kind of thing. I actually used to be good at that, if you can believe it. I know Jeff's going to be very surprised I was good at an RTS at one point. Trust me, it
Relative
happened.
to you.
In the Dawn of War beta, when I played Eldar, and Eldar was overpowered as fuck. You know, I ended up actually playtesting with one of the guys who eventually was brought on as a designer for that game, and we used to hammer out builds and figure out what was overpowered, what wasn't, and that was a really solid RTS. Dawn of War 2 was less of an RTS. And it was more, squad tactics. Real-time squad tactics. Best way to describe Dawn of War 2. But that was still good in its own way. In fact, it was really cool because you could get gear for your Space Marines, and each Space Marine could be specialized to do a different thing. And, that in itself was fine. And even the multiplayer, which had no base building at all, it was just still pretty solid real-time tactics, It's like the smarter guy wins. The guy that makes the better decisions, makes the better engagements and trades wins. Stripped down everything else, but the combat was good. And now you got Dawn of War 3, and the question is, which way does it go? Does it go closer to Dawn of War 1 or closer to Dawn of War 2?
Yeah, they showed some gameplay, not in that the video anyways, but they've shown some gameplay, and it doesn't quite indicate just yet, because they definitely did not show a base building or anything like that. But what they did show was tremendously updated graphics, obviously.
Yeah.
A really cool aesthetic and feel to it, like drop pods coming out of space. And for those of you that don't know, it's just gonna be like, well, actually, a lot of TotalBiscuits fans will know about this, but
they will. They should.
It's
if
a
not,
missile.
I'll purge them. It's fine.
It's a missile with superhumans inside of it that slam into the Earth at subsonic, or spaceships, by the way, at subsonic speeds. And then they disembark only because they're wearing power armor. If they were wearing anything else, they would be liquefied human remains.
Yeah.
Which is about as it's like all Warhammer. It's about as metal as it fucking gets. But in the preview, it just shows them like boom, 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 slamming down and guys getting out. It felt like you were finally playing something reminiscent of Warhammer. And Warhammer has some of the best sci-fi lore, and I'm sure TotalBiscuit might agree with this, but I actually think it is the best. And finally, there's something that's coming close to that. Like Dawn of War was incredible, but it's a 2001 game or something like that, 2002. Very old, so you're not going to be able to see a lot of that. What Dawn of War 1 did that was fantastic was they had like 10 different death animations and kill animations for everything. So when you actually had a fight,
like melee.
Yeah, melee looked like melee.
Instead of them just hacking at each other, they were actually parrying, and the Eldar wouldn't like take the hits; they'd flip out of them, they'd dodge them and shit, which was really
so it
awesome
looked
to watch.
cool, and it was still had an RTS, so there's still micro, there's still base building. It was like that's one of the things that is missing from StarCraft. When you watch a battle, it's not really watching a battle; it's things blow up or that guy dies, but it's like it feels like a video game, which is cool. That's fine. StarCraft's all about gameplay, but in Dawn of War, it was a gorgeous game to look at because there's just so much going on. It's very interesting. So I hope they bring that back as well. And then I just to put my own my vote out there is I do hope it's closer to Dawn of War 1. I like StarCraft is amazing, but it would be nice if there's another RTS worth playing. If you poisoned your experience with Grey Goo for anything more than 10 minutes, Jesus. And then like Total War was like a nice pseudo RTS, but it's not. You're flanking.
It's tactics again.
You're building a little bit of base, but it's tactics exactly. It's not really an RTS, so it'd be nice. And then Command & Conquer, I was feeling mega nostalgic a little while ago, so I was like, you know what? I never played Command & Conquer Red Alert 3.
Oh no!
I was not prepared.
You have chosen poorly.
The racism and sexism that was just everywhere. Like the end of the Allied campaign is she's like, Commander, you're looking sexy as hell.
It literally is. At the end of that campaign, you are
on the battlefield, and then another girl walks in. She's like, Commander, I thought we were having dinner tonight. And the other one's like, well, we could all have dinner together. And it's like, oh, really? Yeah? Red Alert? We're ending with you did such a good job in War. You're having a threesome with the two mega hot chicks? Okay.
To be fair, it's Command & Conquer Red Alert. I mean, this is the same game whose lore is based on the fact that Albert Einstein went back in time and fucked over Hitler, causing Stalin to be the big deal. And the thing is, Red Alert...
Okay, well, listen, though.
That's literally it. That's the plot of the game.
Well, okay, yes. But what was funny about where Command & Conquer went is there was always like Tanya, and in the past, Tanya was played by a Playboy model. I can't remember her name right now. Anyways, Jenny McCarthy. So it was always kind of like...
then went on to deny vaccine effectiveness. So yeah, screw you.
Well, it was kind of like, all right, yeah, there's a sexy girl. She's the warrior.
But
Okay,
she was
whatever.
a
And she would
badass,
say
right?
some funny stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
she was a badass. But it wasn't like over the top. And then the next one, it just became like a little bit more that way. And then the third one, they were like, fuck it. This
They
is
went
not a game anymore. It's
full on
a
with
comedy.
it. Well,
But, like,
they
the
had Ric
Japanese-
Flair. Ric Flair was in it
Yeah.
as a fucking general. And the advertising
So-
campaign had a series of videos called Flair versus Bear, which was 5 videos where Ric Flair was attacked at random by a giant Russian bear.
See, that's more okay to me though. So that's what. So like, you know, I'd like someone like Dodger or my wife Anna. Someone should play that game as a woman and experience that, because I obviously have no idea, but I can only like tangentially tell you that it's painful beyond get out. But what I really think, and again, as a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white male, I have no idea about this either. But when I'm feeling uncomfortable about racism, that's when you know it's way over the top. Like the Japanese army would be like, "Oh, so Master-san," and I'm like, "Oh, stop! Like it's too much."
The basic unit has a lightsaber in the shape of a katana. I mean, Red Alert 3 went full stupid shit. Like, I think not what they thought
Way
would be good.
full.
What they thought was that people liked CNC because of the cheesy cutscenes and the stupid units. So, like, what if we did armored assault parachute bears? What if we had mecha sharks? What if we had all of this
laser
shit?
dolphins.
Yeah, like, those are a thing. I mean, they were in Red Alert too. You could get attack dolphins and
Yeah.
that. And what if we also made every cutscene just like, the Russian advisor woman, she's wearing, basically latex, so is the sniper. You basically, at the end of the Allied campaign, get to go date the advisor, because they hired a bunch of sexy women at the time to do it.
Sure.
We'll have a professional wrestler as one of the main commanders. We'll get what's his face? Guy who played Sulu's in it. George Takei. He's in it.
Yep.
He's one of the main Japanese guys. Like, what if we just get as many silly celebrity cameos as possible, make a ridiculous plot, and just cheese everything, massive over cheese, and it would.
And it worked great.
It didn't. It did not.
No.
No.
Red Alert 2 is cool. I like that
Red
game.
Alert 2 had the right balance. Yuri in that game was a great antagonist. He was cheesy, he was a supervillain, but he was just believable enough. And Tanya was in it,
They
but
were
she
always
was
a little bit
cool,
cheesy. Like,
yeah, of course, loads of
Kane
cheese.
was a little bit cheesy, and that's fine. But it still felt serious enough, so it was like okay. But man, Red Alert
they went
3, I was just like,
overboard.
like
Not to
there'd be a
mention they
scene
gutted
where she'd
them-
like saunter in and be like, "Commander," and she'd be like, "Oh, sorry," and she'd like unbutton another button and be like,
It's like,
"Anyways."
oh,
and
that
I'd be
was
like,
accident. How unfortunate, I mean, for fuck's sake, one of the main hero characters in the expansion for it was a psychic Japanese schoolgirl with a katana. There's an entire
is awesome.
campaign based around her. She's a great character, but she's like,
Dodger's
really?
like, that's borrowing from a lot of the stuff that I've played and watched, by the way.
And liked, yes.
Oh, yes.
Basically, this is all Dodger's fault. Trash bags like her encourage this kind of
I know.
behavior. It's
You be
All my
you,
fault.
Dodger.
Classic
it's-
trash bag.
But the
It
point
was
is,
too much. It was too much. You're totally right. Did you
So that was
also
terrible.
notice the mechanically what they did with it? Like they really
yeah.
they stripped down a lot of shit. Like the way that you mined in that game, it was
it was barely an
ridiculous.
RTS.
Yeah.
There's no micro at all.
Yeah,
None.
yeah. It was, and then
Very
of
few
course,
abilities.
Command and Conquer 4 fucking happened, and we don't. That isn't even an RTS at all. That is just
It's not even.
yeah,
No.
yeah.
So there needs to be another RTS, and
That does.
and
Yeah, I agree.
it looks gorgeous. It looks awesome. They're going to be at PAX West. I guess we're calling it not Prime. So I'm excited. I'm excited to play that there because I think it's due out this year. I thought
Possibly,
end of the
yeah.
year.
Yeah, I'm
So-
gonna swing by and have a look at it. I think because
Well, let's talk. I think they'll want you to do more than that if you want. Like they'll.
They probably
later
will,
shit.
but unfortunately they're being published by Sega. So until we sort that shit out,
Oh, is it still Sega?
yeah, I mean, we're in the process of sorting some stuff out and trying to get stuff sorted. But it's Japan. That's
Yeah.
the problem. It's like, oh, Sega Japan was responsible for this. Yeah, getting them to apologize for anything is going to be like getting blood out of a stone. But we're working some stuff out. Hopefully,
I normally, yeah. The only reason I'm even doing it is because G2A just gave me a bunch of money off of some huge sale they just did. So.
Yeah, I mean, G2A just.
I'm kidding. For those of you that don't know me, by the way, I'm
Yeah,
not.
G2A just sold a bunch of people. They really need to clear out of their human trafficking
Legal, John.
operations. So
Right.
that had to happen. They still.
Those people fell off the back of a truck. Who cares what people
G2A's
pay for?
whaling fleet just came in, and the harvest was good this year. It's like they killed Harambe. They were responsible for that.
They didn't kill Harambe. They just provided the market for which Harambe was killed.
Indeed, the environment in which Harambe was killed was a direct responsibility of G2A's toxic business practices.
Yeah.
What we're saying. I think this is just out there enough for us to not get sued. I'm just hoping that continues to be the case. We just don't want to go too close to reality there, but...
Sure.
Yeah.
To be fair, this Harambe's lawyers are...
Now.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to go back and play Generals again. Generals was... Sorry, man. I'm going to say it. I don't care if you're a Brood War enthusiast.
You can have your
Generals,
opinion.
best RTS of all time. Command & Conquer Generals.
You're not alone in saying that. I mean, there's a lot of wrong people out there, for sure.
Nah. You could actually go and fight Apollo on that one, actually. Like, Apollo would probably put up a good fight on that.
Fighting Apollo in a Command & Conquer game would be his best chance, yes.
I've tried. It didn't work out well.
Yeah, you won a couple world championships. I guess that makes you pretty good at it.
Yeah, just a couple. Yeah. It's like, I said, hey, let's play a few rounds at fucking, it was a LAN years ago, and I said, let's play this mod, because this is a really amazing mod for Generals called Shockwave. It's got, like, it hugely balances all the 12 fucking factions that game has, and there's, like, really cool units and stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'll have the advantage, because I know this mod. No, like, none of the games lasted more than 5 minutes. Like, I'm pretty sure he killed me almost every time with one Humvee filled with rocket dudes. I'm just like, I can't fucking shoot you. You're slightly out of range of me always, and you're doing this on purpose. Fuck you. It was actually a very frustrating experience. Never mind. Yeah. Don't play people that are good at RTS when you're bad at RTS. I think that might be the genre in which the skill gap is most apparent out of any genre ever.
I would think so.
Yeah.
CSGO might blur the line a little bit. It gets a little bit closer, but even that game, you can like
pull
off
you get a
lucky
shot, you know?
Yeah.
Catch someone off guard.
Shot.
It's
if
hard.
I can shoot people and kill them sometimes in Counter-Strike, then no.
Yeah. And in fighting games...
It's not nearly as bad as with...
at least in fighting games, sometimes you can land a hit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Or
I would just move to say what I said is completely wrong. I think you're right. An RTS against like a world-class player, and you're like, let's try this game out. That's the game where you could almost scientifically say 0% chance.
Yes, it's entirely possible. It genuinely is. Like, with a large enough skill gap, a bad player will never win. Even if they do, like, the most gambly, coin-flippy shit there is, they still won't win because the guy will out-control them, like, and outmaneuver them, and then they'll panic and fall to pieces. Like,
the space, like, the things that separate the two, there's, like, 50 every 2 seconds. So, like, think about that mathematically. If you're someone just coming in raw and you're like, you're going to make the right choice 3, 4, 5, 6 times out of 50, 10 times, 20 times out of 50, while the other one's doing like 40, 45 perfectly, pretty correct.
And then you lose.
And as time goes on, now you're separated by like 5 minutes in a game that's supposed to last 10. It's just eons apart.
Yeah.
That's my bulldog story, by the way, guys. Sorry.
It sounds like a little motorcycle that keeps going by your window.
I really like that image.
It makes it so much better.
The grumbly baby.
I live on the circus, guys. Sorry, they're training for some stupid new stunt. I can't even believe it.
I'm sorry, everyone needs to be silent. I want to hear the grumbly bulldog for a minute. God damn it, bulldog.
Any day.
You don't hear it?
No, I think the bulldog is below the volume threshold for the mic.
Oh, that's good.
I can
There it
only
is.
hear him when you talk, but as soon as you stop talking...
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, it's only when I talk. Okay, I'll time it. 1 second. Hello. There you go. He just woke up, though. Yeah.
He's
We've
like,
awoken the beast.
We like it. And I like it's like a white noise in the background. It's actually nice. But there are bulldogs that do not have a snore that is not nice. Because my dad's been like, yeah, can you watch the dogs for the weekend? And we watch them. And I'm like, oh, 2 chubby bulldogs will be so adorable. And they go to sleep and it's like,
Oh, God.
All right, you're out of the room. Get out.
None of that. Nope. That's it. Okay. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll round up what news there is and talk a little bit more about games we've been playing. And, of course, wrap up the games that are coming over the next week or so. You're watching the Co-optionaI Podcast. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Co-optionaI Podcast. Yes, indeed.
you'll be delighted to know we've listened to a puppy snore.
Great.
The entire break. It's been delightful.
You see, this is why I hate being the host of the show, because I've got to have the VoIP muted, so
You don't
I didn't
get to hear
I didn't
it,
get puppy
I know.
snores, man. Jeez.
Unbelievable.
Tell you, Control, if you want to kickstart your YouTube channel, just 10 hours of puppy snores, ASMR, record it, upload it.
Oh my god.
You'll rake in that YouTube red revenue, man.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh my god. ASMR puppy noises.
You'll just have to have me back on the show, and we can have our guest be Jesse Cox. Be awesome.
We're just going to be sort of lightly ribbing the fact that he showed up 32 minutes late and then was curious as to why he's not here. Right? It's like, why are you on the show? It's like, because you're 32 minutes late. We should have started 2 minutes ago. That's why. You're making my life difficult. Never mind. Let's move on to some news. And there's not really been a huge amount, although I don't believe we covered this last week. I certainly hope we didn't. PlayStation Now is coming to PC. We did. Actually, we might have covered this last week because I think
we all talked about it in the Skype chat.
Yeah, I don't think it actually
talked
happened.
about it
I
on
think
the
it was
show.
announced just after the show ended.
Yeah.
So I guess we can do that. So for those who don't know, the PlayStation Now service is a cloud gaming service. But what is cloud gaming? Well, cloud gaming is the process by which a game is actually hosted and played on a remote server, but it is streamed to you, and your actions are streamed back to the server. There was an older service that did it called OnLive, which you may remember is not a very successful service at all, but the concept hasn't gone away. Because, there are a couple of advantages to being able to do that. You can gain instant access to a large library of games without having to download anything. You can get playing instantly, and it also has some really cool utility for demoing games before they come out. Because you can play a little bit of it on someone else's computer, and you can do it instantly. You don't have to download a 20-gigabyte demo or whatever. So PlayStation Now came along, and it was Sony's way of doing cloud gaming, and it was also their answer to backwards compatibility. Said, well, we don't have real backwards compatibility, but what we do have is the ability to stream PS3 and some PS2 games over this service that we call PlayStation Now, and you can rent, or you can buy products entirely, and there's also a subscription that gives you a bunch of games. So, that dog. So, I always feel like you're deliberately inching it with your foot closer to the microphone on purpose. I just think that's the thing you're doing. Oh, Jesus. But what, so kind of a surprise announcement is that they announced it for PC as well. So that means that PC users in certain EU countries that can already do it, it's launching a little bit later in the US, you will be able to use the PlayStation Now streaming service on a PC platform, and you can use a DualShock 4 controller with it. They're releasing an official adapter to allow you to do that wirelessly and all that kind of thing. And you'll have access to that library of games, which has about 400 games in it, including some of the big exclusives on the PS3, like Journey, Uncharted, God of War, and so on and so forth. Jesus Christ.
If it's
I
actually
can't.
a problem, I
You're
can mute my
listening,
mic.
I swear.
I'm just done. It's the best thing about it is it's now got so loud that it's overriding the default threshold for the mics on this mic. I was just like, I just, oh my god, I'm trying to talk about cloud gaming here, Barristan. What the fuck, man? Don't you understand the importance of this?
I mean, it's an accurate response.
I mean, to cloud gaming, yeah, you're probably right. It's. The service, I tried the service when it first came out. It wasn't that brilliant. I mean, I tried to stream like BlazBlue on it, and it was a disaster. Like, it was really pixely, it was slow.
Yeah.
And obviously, the quality of the service is going to depend on how close you are to the servers and how good your internet is. So, some games run just fine. I mean, hell, I used OnLive back when OnLive came out, and actually I played a few games on it, and they actually worked pretty well. As long as they didn't require you to, to be too quick. There wasn't a game about dexterity. Like, you play a strategy game on it real easy. Like, turn-based game, you can't even notice the lag. Something like a fighting game, much more noticeable.
Yeah.
What is more interesting to me is not the fact that the service exists. It's the fact that Sony is, like, letting PC users have it.
Right.
Do you think that indicates that they're a bit maybe worried about what Microsoft is currently doing with PC and trying to get dominance there, and they're trying to muscle in a little bit on the operation? Is this their roundabout way of doing that?
I mean, they've done a couple of things. Like there's this, and then there's also they just announced that they're releasing a $25 dongle to make it so that the DualShock 4 is PC compatible.
Yeah, which technically it already is, but not wirelessly. Like, you can plug it in via USB, but this lets you get full wireless capability, which is good.
And depending on what kind of computer you have, sometimes you have to fuck around with a lot of drivers and
You
stuff.
absolutely do, yeah. It also enables like the motion sensor and the light bar, like, and the touchpad, because you can use a DualShock 4, but a lot of that shit doesn't work out of the box, so you're getting full functionality out of it.
Yeah. So I feel like, yeah, they're acknowledging that PC is the dominant force right now and trying to figure out how to compete with Microsoft there.
Yeah, but their way is to not say, hey, you can have our PS4 exclusives. This is an interesting thing, because I feel like some console guys are starting to come around to the idea that they're not going to convince a hardcore PC gamer to buy a console. It doesn't matter what you do. They've invested thousands of dollars into their machine. They know it's more powerful. Why would they buy a console? And even exclusives aren't dragging them over, because maybe, people's standards have gone up lately. So they're thinking, well, if we can't get them, I mean, we could at least sell our software to them. We can't get them to buy a console, but maybe we can sell them a service or something like that. And I think that's a decent thing to do. I mean, I'm fairly happy this is coming. It's an option, right? Like,
yeah.
Maybe I will never use it, because especially for PS2 games in particular, I'm probably better off using an emulator. I'll get better quality. Yeah. But for some PS3 games, like, would I want to play the PS3 version of God of War? Maybe, if it played okay. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how it performs. That's the thing. I mean, I'm going to try it when it comes out, but to me, it all comes down to, like, I don't mind how bad the game looks, because I know console games are not going to ever look as good as a great PC, but I care about how fast it is and how responsive it is and how it plays. So if it doesn't play very well, then I won't care.
Nostalgia kick to take this loop. Like, they have the NES thing coming out in, November or something like that, where it's like,
oh yeah, that little
self-contained tiny NES that has 100 games on it. It's going to sell for like $100 or 80 or something like that. What an incredible fucking idea. I'm going to buy that so hard. And if they come out with a Super Nintendo one, that's where, again, I go back to my Minority Report. I wish they would have already taken my money. If I could pre-purchase that, I would. I would.
Solid pre-purchase.
One of the best pre-purchases you could do, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I picked the adapter, definitely, just for that functionality, because I like the DualShock 4. It's a nice little controller. It's good to have access to that.
I don't know. For me, it's like, if I'm going to choose between the controllers to potentially use with my PC, I'm going to choose the one that I can literally plug in and immediately use.
Yeah.
Which is not the DualShock.
No, it does take a bit of fiddling. I'm noticing that some PC games are setting up for a default control scheme that supports DualShock and have, like, PlayStation prompts, which is nice. I think this will probably accelerate the process of more games doing that, because they realize that more people will use it. And when they released the wireless dongle for the Xbox One controller, I think a lot of people are happy about that too. I bought one, and I'm actually really happy with how it works. It
Love
just
your
sits
dongle.
there. I love my dongles, man.
Dongle.
Dongles are wonderful. Getting a dongle, but that's nice, because you just...
Sounds like a growth that develops, like, on your chin or elbow.
It really does. It's like, oh man, there's a cream.
Not another dongle.
There's a cream for that you can get. It's just just never lance your dongle. Just make sure you never do that. It sounds like a good idea at the time, but it could just get infected, and it'll get way, way worse. That's not the way to get rid of a dongle.
Have you seen a doctor about your dongle? Because it's a large dongle.
You got to see a specialist about a dongle, man. You can't go to a regular primary care doctor. That's just not good enough. It's a very serious... Dongles are really serious. Just bear that in mind. But yeah, I love the adapter for that. Like I said, the Xbox One controller is... I feel like I've got so used to it, I'm not sure I'd want to switch out for the DualShock. I will say I significantly prefer the D-pad on the DualShock. If I want to play a game with the D-pad, the Xbox is not the way to go for that. I prefer the positioning of it. Whereas on the Xbox One, I find it gives you like a cramp in your thumb, because the D-pad's below the analog stick, not above it. And I feel like I have to kind of crane my thumb. But hey, more controller options, the better. I'm never going to complain about that. And I just like to play some older... There's just a selection. Basically, the only reason I want this is because it supports Tokyo Jungle. So I can be a fucking...
Tokyo Jungle!
I can dominate Tokyo as a fucking carnivorous Pomeranian again. And that
the dream re-realized.
The dream is re-realized. There's never been a game like Tokyo Jungle. There will never be a game like Tokyo Jungle again. So as long as I can play that, it's nice just to have that option, I can't say I want to play The Last of Us. It's like, well, I could play the PS3 version of The Last of Us. Probably not. No, I'd rather play that is one game that I do have a PS4 to play, because the 60 FPS version of that game is so much fucking better than the PS3 version was. There's a couple of games like
Take
that,
it
but
back, John.
no, I will not.
Take
I will
it
not.
back.
No, not
Fair enough. Fair enough.
You
I
know
understand
it.
your point.
You're just being adversarial for the sake of it. I know about you.
Someone has to, you know.
You're contentious. Yeah, but we'll see how the service works out. It's cool. Hopefully it's a bridge for Sony realizing, okay, let's just bring a few exclusives over to the PC, because fuck it, they're not going to buy our console anyway. Let's at least sell them a game.
Yeah.
Where's the harm in that? And now hopefully that means we're more crossplay too. That's been fucking godlike for things like Rocket League and Street Fighter V. That's been wonderful. I want to see way more of that. So yeah, that happened. There's not too much else going on really. I mean, there was a non-controversy about No Man's Sky, where people was like, oh, you can get a No Man's Sky refund whenever you want, and then Valve was like, no, you can't.
I was like, that doesn't sound real.
Yeah, it is the thing about the refund policy on No Man's Sky or on any Steam game. People say, oh, you can only get a refund in the 2-hour limit. That's not specifically true all the time. That's the automatic refund period. That's the period where you'll get a no questions asked refund as long as you're not doing it like 10 games a day. Yeah. But there are situations where they will refund a game that you've been playing for longer. It just might take them longer to approve it, and sometimes they won't. But yeah, there are some people saying, oh, I got a refund after 30 hours. But there is one thing that I would like to discuss, and that is the ethics of, like, refunding. Like, when do you feel that you have played the game too much to justify refunding it? And is there even a point? Like, should a consumer always have the right to do that? You know, to what extent do consumer rights extend, and to what should we as gamers consider to be the right?
It's actually a really good question.
In that,
because there is scenarios where someone's like, I thought this was a such and such game, and then 20 minutes into it, I realized it wasn't, and I would not have spent my money on that. So in that situation, obviously, case by case, you're like, yeah, okay, that person should get their money back. And of course, you cannot do case by case, so you have to have just a flat policy. Yeah. Which is what makes it interesting, because then on the other hand, let's be honest, that's the honest person. The other 99 out of 100 are people who are just like, nah, I beat it really quick and I just want my money back because I just want to spend my money on something else now. I mean, those people shouldn't get that refund, obviously.
Probably not, but if the game is less than 2 hours in length, can you really stop them? It's when the Steam refund system first came out, there were a few people who made like very short games, vignette games as they're called, that were like, oh god, this is gonna like kill us. The interesting thing is that none of those people actually sold their games in the first place. They were all free, which is why it made me scratch my head a little bit. But I assume what they wanted to do at some point was to sell a short game, and they're like, oh god, if it's a short game, everyone will just refund it. And I feel like that was like really assuming that every gamer is a piece of shit. Like, that if they enjoyed a game that was 1.5 hours long and maybe it was $5, that it's like, oh, I'm gonna refund it now. Ha 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 ha. I got one over on the system. Yeah. I feel like if you enjoyed that game, you would not be. I think most people would not do that.
I think most people would not too, in that case.
Yeah.
I think if you ever had a slippery system where, like, there's a threshold for sure. Like, if you go to this point where it's like, you know what? People are generally good. You can refund it after the first 24 hours. Get fucked, world, because guess what? So many goddamn people would play that game. They're like, oh, wow, 24 hours, sure. I got 20 hours today to play it. Let's
go.
This. Just beat it, and then refund the fuck out of that game so that I can get my money back. And then, of course, it would like crash the system or whatever. But outside of that, I think, most people a couple hours in will be like, nah, this is not for me, or it is for me. And I'll
if I recall correctly, EA with the Origin system actually has a 24-hour refund policy on their games. And this is EA we're talking about, like the big evil. They put that policy out there, and they have not mentioned that it's caused a huge amount of abuse. I feel like if you have got what you feel like is your money's worth out of it, you're not likely to just turn around and refund it just because you can. I think that the vast majority of consumers, when they leave satisfied, they feel like they've made a good purchase. No, they will not abuse a policy to try and get their money back.
Yeah, I think so.
Not regularly. I don't think they would. And we have noticed that there's been a dip in the number of owned copies of No Man's Sky on PC. Like, Steam Spy tracked a a noticeable, not insignificant dip. So that means that people have been refunding it so much that it's actually caused the user count to go down, which is very rare. I mean, even Batman Arkham Knight, which was a disaster piece of launch on PC. Yeah, awful launch. We were expecting to see a big dip in that, and we actually didn't, which is interesting.
Well, that's because that's actually an incredible game. It's just a terrible launch.
Yeah.
This is a terrible game with a normal launch.
They could make it even so if the game has like a lesser amount of time it takes to beat it, it's harder to refund that game.
I thought they should always tie into achievements. Like, if you actually beat the game... But even that's a problem. Like, because let's say, for sake of argument, this game, it's an hour and a half long. Maybe it's $5, $10, whatever. And it ends abruptly, has a what the fuck ending that maybe even ruins the whole thing for you. Like, you've enjoyed the whole thing up to this point, and the payoff just doesn't happen. You get blue-balled completely.
Mm-hmm.
And then you say, right, well, am I justified in refunding this?
No,
even though I've beat the whole thing?
Is not.
No, I don't think so.
Why do you think that is?
Why do I think that is?
Mm-hmm.
Because not liking the ending of a product doesn't mean that you didn't consume the product.
That's true.
Like, if someone's like, I'm going to serve you a 3-course dinner. And
I was going to equate it to food, too.
You see, I don't like that comparison because, especially in America, the culture is, even if you did eat the dinner and you didn't like it, you more often than not get it taken off your bill.
All right, John, here's the comparison. A puppy dog. Someone gives you a puppy dog, you're like, I like the puppy dog.
That's a living thing.
It's fluffy, I fucking love it. It's a middle-aged dog, still playful, but a little bit more chill. Old dog farts all the time, doesn't do much. I want a refund. You don't get one.
I feel like comparing it to a living, breathing member of your family is maybe a little bit different. I can't refund
Video
my
games
grandmother.
aren't a part of your family? Do you just do this for the money, John? For me, it's all about passion. What up now, dog? Peace.
You can tell you've been in the StarCraft scene for a long time with language.
Like, you can go to a bunch of restaurants then, in that scenario.
I don't know.
Be like, I don't like the food. Like, at every restaurant.
I would just stick. How about no analogy for me? Just as far as a video game goes, like,
yeah, let's just do that.
I think as a consumer, I think as a person with money, you are not entitled to purchase something and then and enjoy and get the purchase. By the way, right? Like, you weren't misled. It's not like you bought this because it says that at the end it's going to show you the answer to life, and then you didn't get that answer to life, so you're misled. It's just that your opinion, your aesthetic, your feelings weren't like, well, I don't think that segment of that purchase I made was what I wanted. But there was no misleading, there was no misinformation. It was just a revelation to you. Like, think about it this way. Okay, I guess I am doing a fucking comparison.
Analogy. Yeah.
You go to a movie. You sit
Jeff,
through the
we're
entire...
on the same. God, our brains. Okay.
All right.
Continue.
Well, that's great minds. But you go to a movie and the ending's really bad. You don't get up, walk out, and go. I mean, by the way, old people do this. I've actually seen them do this.
Yeah,
but they like
this
go and they're like,
actually, yes.
they're like, yeah, which again, to me is like the stupidest thing in the world. But they would go and be like, hey, that ending was gratuitous. I was told that Tom Cruise would do a full frontal and I would see his entire penis. I did not see his entire penis, and I want my money back. And they'd be like, well, actually, it's a bad example because some theaters would give them that money back, but I would argue you should not. I would say,
what if it was marketed on the basis of Tom Cruise's full frontal penis, and
then
it wasn't there?
Absolutely. And maybe that's why someone went into it and they were misled. That is a refund situation. Like, what I like about this conversation is there is no yes or no to me. There is an argument on both sides, and I 100% agree with you that there are people who very rightfully so could be like, actually, the ending was so unsettling for me that it was not worth the cost. And I think that's a compelling argument. But where I think it loses traction for me is that I think most people are pieces of shit, and then if you add money to the equation, they become even more pieces of shit. So there's like, so you can't go by this. You can't go by the logic of like, you know what? I think most people would be fair, and if I sold something that said you could refund this at any time, I think most people would probably. And when I say most, I mean like 95%, right? Because if you release a game, you're not hoping to make 51% profit margins. You're hoping to make as much as possible. But if I put in a policy that most people could look at and be like, and here's what would happen too, by the way, they'd beat it. They wouldn't refund it. 3 months down the road, they'd be a little bit broken. They'd look at their game library on Steam and be like, oh, that's right. I can refund those 10
cash
games.
That in, yeah.
I'm going to cash them in and buy these other games. And that's going to happen forever. Like, no game would be profitable. And that's why that policy could never be enacted. It's not because of the case by case, which I think we could come up with an argument where that is true, that it is a good thing that that person has availability of a refund, but because people are shit and money makes people even more big pieces of shit. And I think that as a policy, it'd be really bad.
Yeah, I think you don't really got to limit the time on refunds, because I think that a lot of it is the immediacy and people sort of getting caught up in the moment in the experience. And I think the reason why people don't refund short, really good games, even though they can, is because, you know, they just got out of an experience where they really fucking got something out of it, and they're on that emotional high, or in some cases emotional low, depending on what the game, you know, did to them. You know, some games are, you know, not every game is designed to be fun, but every game should be designed to be compelling in some way. 3 months down the line, it's very easy to view it as a piece of disposable media, because you're no longer emotionally invested in it in one way or the other. But weirdly enough, I think the same thing can happen the other way around. If you're so disappointed that you end up being angry, you can very much like lash out, and one of the ways that some people do lash out is by using the refund policy to do so. And I mean, we've gone sort of through a loop of saying 95% of people aren't pieces of shit, but then when it comes to money, a lot of people are pieces of shit.
Yeah.
So you do have to have some limitations.
Full
It's
circle.
like they are or they are not, certainly. But I mean, do you agree that a game can be so badly ruined by its ending that it does invalidate everything that came before that?
Yeah, I think it could.
I think if an ending, I would say the only time that it would be okay for you to be like, wow, that ending was so bad that I want to like get my money back, is if it wasn't an ending. If the game like, is obviously unfinished and the end of the game is like, it just stops, you know?
Metal Gear Solid 5. Yeah.
But again,
No Man's Sky. Obviously, I don't want to go any further into that, but that game does not have an ending.
I have a tough time with the subject. I understand the other perspective. It's just like I guess because, and you guys are very similar to this, obviously, if not more so, but like, you know, you've rubbed shoulders and elbows with game designers and developers, and like obviously there's the big evil corporate AAA ones that just churn out money monsters, but there's also people that are like pouring their soul into this. And
Absolutely.
I just don't like the idea of someone like absolutely enjoying most of it, but then like, I just didn't agree with the ending. I cannot believe the character would have a butt pose like that. Like, I fucking hate this, and now I want to hurt you, and I want my money back. But also, there's the other side of that where they're like, I also want my money back so I can spend it on another game that I'll then do this to again. Like, it's just
yeah.
But I also do believe in a system that has some form of refund, because that should be available as well. There's, you know, a kid goes out and buys a game and the mom or dad's like, absolutely not, or the legitimate middle-aged man or woman buys a game and they're like, this is not what I thought it would be. Thankfully, it's inside the 3-hour window. I'm going to refund it.
PC in particular, I think it's super important, because it's entirely possible that there's just something up with your computer and it just doesn't fucking work. You know? I mean, hell, you know, for me, I had 2 days of No Man's Sky refusing to even boot. Like, I couldn't even get it to load. And it turned out the fix was so ridiculously obscure that it took me hours to deal with that. A lot of people would have just given up on it and refunded it at that point.
And that's 2 more days of TotalBiscuit floating through space shooting rocks that are now robbed from him forever.
Exactly. I can never have that again.
The true tragedy.
Indeed. It's a difficult subject. I don't think there's no perfect solution. And as you said, especially when you do know game developers and you know how hard they work, it becomes very difficult. Because from one hand, you can see, like, look, everyone works hard, you know? Guy works in a fucking shop or a factory or call center or whatever, doesn't have a lot of disposable income. Hey, I can afford a game this month. I'm going to buy a game. I'm hoping this is going to be my entertainment for the month. Ends up being a piece of crap. He should absolutely be able to get his money back for that. Simultaneously, though, you know, someone who serially abuses the system just to get free games and stuff, you know, that's not a good thing. And using refunds as a way to sort of, as punitive, you know, to be able to try and damage a developer. I've never really agreed with that either. Some people really love to, say, use the review system they feel like they're really attacking the developer.
Sticking it to them.
Yeah, sticking it to them. Like the process called meta bombing is something that a lot of people do. It's even happening right now to Deus Ex. Some people are so pissed off by the microtransaction thing that they believe that justifies a fully negative review. And on the one hand, I can kind of see the point, but simultaneously, you know that some of them did it maliciously. You know,
it's interesting too, kind of tangentially related to the subject, is the pricing of video games right now is in a not even necessarily right now, but the direction it's going is very interesting to me. Like, growing up for me, a video game was $60 or $50. That's just what a video game costs. There was no microtransactions. There was this is the final product. This is it. Betas was like a very experimental thing that definitely did happen. I remember playing World of Warcraft in college in a beta form. I thought that was very cool at the time. I'm not necessarily speaking down to any of those things, microtransactions or betas, but what's interesting now is that I've seen more and more people, in particular younger people, and I can say that because I'm 30 now, so I'm really old. But there's like there'll be people who will be like, I cannot believe this game is $50. And I'm not judging all people that say all games $50 are ridiculous, but the idea that $50 is an expensive game is like a really newish concept to me. Like that used to be what a fucking game costs, and you got your bang for your buck. Like games were very complete, very incredible. I understand the criticism because now it's like the norm. And speaking of Deus Ex, they got burned for this, but they still did it some portion of this anyways. When you load up that screen, the first thing you're brought to is an advertisement screen for 2 sub games that you can purchase off the game itself. Like this is content that is built into the game, but you do not get access to unless you pay additional
Jensen
money.
Stories?
Yep, it's Breaker or something. It's like a hacking sub game.
Well, Breach Mode's free. You can play Breach Mode. Breach Mode's just part of the game. I know that I think the Jensen Stories are actually part of the Season Pass. I don't think they're available yet. But I know there is one mission that was Day 1 DLC, though, which is shit. You know, that shouldn't happen, ever.
And it's a part of the actual game itself, but it's been blocked off by a paywall that you don't get unless you pay a little bit more.
Yeah.
I'm not really looking to criticize Deus Ex in particular. It's just the most recent example, but it's just very interesting. And I was talking, I don't feel the name to name him, but one of the developers at Blizzard was kind of lamenting this to me, talking about how like when StarCraft came out, StarCraft Legacy of the Void, it's the 3rd installment of a game. It's considered an add-on, but it's obviously got its own single player. It's a whole campaign that's very good, by the way,
plus
probably the best of the 3.
Mode, plus Archon.
Plus, like, it's a huge package.
Content, yeah.
But in this day and age, it was looked at as like, oh my God, you're charging a full game price for that. That's ridiculous. And there's a lot of people that won't go near games because of that price.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not looking at people and saying you're ridiculous. I'm just saying kind of the shock to me of this current meta, which is like, games should be $30 or $40 or free to play if you go towards the esports route, by the way. That's like the expectation because of League of Legends. And then you should be dinked and donked for $5 little packages like Heroes of Storm, Dota, LOL, all those games. CSGO went that model up.
And I mean, I'm going to be honest, and especially on mobile, like, I'm starting to really despise free-to-play for the most part, because I know that if the game is free-to-play, the chances are they've probably taken everything that's enjoyable about the game and stretched it as thin across as many slices of toast as possible.
It's not free-to-play. It's just labeled free-to-play, but it's just a constant advertisement to you. Like Clash Royale is kind of the most successful. You can play that free-to-play. Hearthstone, you can play that free-to-play.
Totally,
and there's one famous pro gamer that took the expansion pack or the opening pack and literally made a full deck, but it's like, how long did you play that? 179 hours. Like, okay. And then Clash Royale, like literally the leveling system itself gets you to a certain point where even if you haven't spent a single dime, you're playing against people that absolutely have, and you are outgunned. It encourages you.
Yeah, I hate the leveling system of that game. And that's a shame because it's one of the best mobile games I think that exists. It's just business model kind of killing it. You know, it's interesting that you mentioned that, you know, games used to be $60 and still are, because, I mean, you know, bear in mind inflation, the fact that games are still $60 and yet budgets have gone so much higher to make a game. It's become so much more expensive to make a game. It's actually kind of amazing that they're still $60. Yes, I know you can sell them to more people, you know, because the market is larger than it was, but still, it's quite incredible that back in the day you paid $60 for, like, a fucking, you know, the original Mario Brothers or whatever, and now you pay $60 for something as complex as Deus Ex or Grand Theft Auto 5, which simulates the entire fucking city.
The flip side to it, John, is the what people spend on games making them has also inflated tremendously because the expectation for it's huge. Like, Metal Gear Solid 5, to go back to what we were just talking about, that cost like an entire department's jobs. They all went insane. They all fucking so this is obviously an extreme example.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
I don't have the number in front of me, but it was like wasn't it tens of millions of dollars to get that game out? Like $100 million?
I think the budget for Metal Gear Solid 5 was closer to $100 million.
$100 million, guys. That's a big fucking movie in Hollywood.
$80 million. And that's not. I don't think that's counting the marketing for the game either, which probably was another $10 million plus.
And they sold that at $60 because, you know, not that they should sell it at any more than that. There was some DLC in that, but for the most part, you got a pretty full game. Other than, again, the ending is it was cut short, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's a good argument to bolster what you just said too. It's just like they're spending more on a lot of these games. They're charging the same or less because they're kind of hamstrung into it. And then they're even bludgeoned with like how they charge that, which I think is very interesting. It's a different dynamic these days.
Yeah, it's all about perception, really. I think the amount of people that I see saying, "Oh, well, if this game was 40, but at 60, no way." Like people set a very hard limit to what they think is okay for a game and what isn't. Indie games suffer from this a lot. Like you get a game that has pixel art, people are like $5, or I'm not gonna touch it. And it's like you really defined it by the fact that it doesn't look like GTA 5, you know? I mean, but what about the value of the game that's there, you know, and all that kind of stuff? It is very interesting, but I think it's always dangerous to talk too much about, you know, how gamers don't appreciate the value of the product that they've got, because it dips way too far into the entitlement.
And that's not necessarily what I'm getting at.
Like it.
I like that, you know, not to get too America on us here, but I do like capitalism as a business model in this case, where it's like,
well, capitalism's the worst thing ever, except for everything else.
I agree, it's the best. Kidding. But like with Deus Ex, they came out with a fucking ham-fisted, grossly aggressive, stupid, greedy campaign. It was shot down so hard that they canned it, and now other games that would normally have gone in that direction, had that been successful, will not. So like the market kind of corrects itself. DLC, microtransactions. The reason this is so apparent is because it has become the norm. It is popular and it does work
on mobile.
Like
certainly.
CS:GO was an okay launch of a game, but the second they started to do trading, gambling, microtransactions, skins, that kind of stuff, it transformed the game.
It did.
It's a ridiculous example of just like, what? People are really, really into that? Yes, they are.
Yeah. Cool.
But what is cloud gaming?
Yeah, but what is cloud gaming?
Usually terrible. For the most part. Usually terrible. That's, all right. Well, I don't think we solved the ethical quandary of refunds, but, well, no one else has either. So
boils down to just people are going to be douchebags no matter what the system is.
Amen.
Except when they're not, and we say that 95% of people aren't.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be douchebags except for the people listening to this show.
There's always the people that will
They're
abuse
all
the
great.
system.
They're all
Someone's
amazing.
going to abuse the system. And that's just
but that doesn't mean you get to shut the system down entirely, because a few people are dicks. Like, well, you know, some people use the road for crime. We don't shut the road down. You know, cars kill people. That doesn't mean we can't have cars. It's ultimately,
hell, we're gonna make cars drive themselves soon. I'm pretty excited about that.
I'm totally happy about that. I'll be fine with that. That's,
Me too.
I'm cool with that.
Be on the computer in the back.
Absolutely. Just play some Deus Ex on the road. That's the way it should be.
I do have to say it's terrifying being in a Tesla when the person driving is like, "Want to watch my car drive itself?" and just hit a button, and you're like, "No, don't."
No, I don't. I don't want that.
No, wait. And for the most part, it's fine, but every now and then they're like, "Whoops, didn't quite figure that one out right, huh?"
Yeah,
I'm like,
because really,
Like,
it's assisted driving. It doesn't really drive itself.
I trust the driving car, but I don't trust the driving car with humans around it.
Yeah.
to like panic when it does.
Yeah,
things.
to panic and then fuck it up. Yeah, that's probably what's going to end up happening with that in particular.
Yeah.
Also, this has got nothing to do with anything, but please stop emailing me, developers of Jotun. Oh my god, stop it. So they're at PAX and they're doing like a challenge and stuff there. I must have got 20 emails from them. They've just sent me another one saying they've given me a review copy embargo of the Jotun Valhalla edition. I was like, stop! Like, let me find, right, because obviously nothing else is referred to Jotun. Let me find out how many emails I've ever received about Jotun in my email box.
I believe it's pronounced Jotun.
Jotun, yes, Jotun. Yeah, feel free.
Jotun.
Okay, so I've had 8 emails in the past week. In total I've had 27 emails about Jotun, and they've all been from the devs of the PR team. It's like, you're insistent, I get it, but stop. Like, every goddamn day I'm getting something that says, impress the gods in big letters. No, I don't want to impress the gods anymore. I have no interest in them. They could go to hell. You know, I don't mind if the gods think I'm a piece of shit at this point. Enough.
Enough is enough.
Just want to get that off my chest. Yeah. So there you go, Jotun. You got some free publicity. Now stop emailing me, please. All right, should we move on to releases, shall we? And then wrap this up.
Let's do it. Today, August 30th, we have Talent Not Included.
I did get review codes sent to me for this. It is not a games journalism simulator, as much as you might think that it might be. It is, in fact, something completely different to that, which I've for some reason comment. There we go.
Joke 8 out of 10, timing and delivery, like
yeah,
3.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm awkward and horrible like that. It's just how it is. It's I actually don't know. Like, all I know is it has a theatrical setting, like it's set on a stage or something along those lines.
Okay.
All I know is under the why you should try it out, it contains theatrical setting, absurd humor, cylinder-based platforms, combat galore, and local co-op. This does not tell me how the game plays whatsoever. I'm looking at the video. It's a kind of combat platformer thing, I think, from what I can tell.
All right.
Looks all right.
Okay.
Sure. That didn't help at all, did it?
Not really, but that's okay.
Cool.
The next game is the Turing Test, which I told you
which we talked about, yep.
The game after that is called Blam Down Utter Fury, and it's a twin-stick shooter where you're a cow.
A cow?
Great.
Why?
I don't...
Why not?
Why not, TV?
That's not why
Yes.
am.
Go on.
That's
Yeah.
why not, John.
I don't think that's the real quote, but you know I'm gonna let it slide because you
Abraham
stepped in the last
Lincoln.
minute and we owe you one. So next.
Think not the spoon.
The next game is called Hue.
Yeah, that just popped up about 2 minutes ago. Apparently it's an award-winning puzzle adventure. I've never actually heard of it. But it has awards from at least 2 people.
That means it's good.
Yeah. Aesthetically it's quite nice. It's very sort of bright, bold colors, and your character's sort of a silhouette. It is a puzzle platformer, basically. But it involves color. You match the color to the background, and that makes objects disappear and reappear and stuff like that, and you have a color wheel to do that.
Oh, that
And it
sounds cool.
Won a bunch of awards that glow different colors on Steam, which I thought was kind of neat.
That's awesome.
Next.
Next game is called Champions of Anteria.
Yeah, I was looking at this. It's
an
made
RTS.
by, it claims to be an RTS, but it certainly doesn't fucking look like one. But it's made by Blue Byte, who are the guys that made the Anno series and the Settlers series.
Oh, I like
so
those
this
games.
sort of came out of nowhere. There's actually a demo for it as well. They made a demo. That's very rare. But yeah, it seems like a hero-based RTS of sorts, and apparently between levels you go back and you upgrade your town, and you can get equipment and craft potions for your dudes and everything. It's published by Ubisoft. I haven't heard a single thing about this game before it came out, but I'm intrigued by it now. I want to have a look at it.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm looking at it. I still don't understand it just by looking at it, and the description's not very good. That's kind of why I'm even more curious about it. So neat. All right, next.
The game after that is called Four-Sided Fantasy. It looks like a little cute puzzler with cute art.
Yes.
So there's that. The game after that is Livelock.
Livelock, which we talked about earlier. Yep, that's pretty good for the price, from what I can tell so far.
Game after that is Joanna's Life.
Joanna's Life is not coming up. Anyone find that one? I cannot find it.
No.
How? Oh, has it got a weird spelling on Joanna? Yeah, there's only one N in it. And I still... Oh, there it is. There it is. Finally found it.
You got it?
Yeah, I have... Yeah, it's one of those first-person horror puzzle games. It's like you can tell by the fact that 90% of the screenshot is black. And it's like the rest is a flashlight. It's a detailed and AI-populated world, apparently. Even though I can't see a single person in any of it. Huh. Interesting. All right.
Next is a game called Death's Hangover.
Depth's Hangover? Or Death's Death?
Death. Like
Death's
die.
Hangover?
Death's
Okay.
Hangover.
I liked Depth's Hangover. That was even
Yeah.
How does Death get a hangover? One has to wonder.
It's a ball and
probably from
bat
alcohol,
game,
John.
It's
going into
a what?
early access. It's not actually releasing.
It's a ball and bat game with horror elements and mature. What the fuck is it? Is it literally like Arkanoid or Breakout? It is.
It looks like it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. A Breakout clone with horror themes and mature humor. What?
I mean, that's what I look for every time.
Totally. Yeah. Next.
The next game is called Reset 1-1.
Reset 1.
I'm having trouble finding it.
Reset 1-1. Okay,
Oh, there
There it
I
is.
see.
6 out of 10, $2.
$2.
Mixed reviews. Yes.
God, it's a platformer that looks
It's a
like,
little platformer,
looks
yeah.
like it was, looks ancient. Next.
All right. Next is called Assault Suit Leynos. Leynos spelled Leynos.
Probably this is a remake of a Sega Mega Drive or Genesis game, which was a sort of side-scrolling shooter that was quite well regarded. I imagine it only came out in Japan because I'd never heard of it outside of that. But it just came out on PS4 as well. It's got generally good reviews so far, I think. So kind of side-scrolling Japanese mecha game.
The next game I can't find. It's apparently just called Stars.
Okay.
Well, that's the one game in the list this week that you made your game far too fucking hard to find. I actually did just find it, I think. It looks like it's a VR game where you just look at constellations. So it's an experience game, basically.
So No Man's Sky.
Yeah, just a lot cheaper. Great.
And without having to mine.
No mining. Perfect. Excellent. Next.
This next game looks like a game I would totally play. It's called PowerLink VR, and it's a virtual reality game where you're like trying to make electrical currents line up.
Okay. All right.
But it's in early access as well. The game after that is called Onward.
Okay.
Onward is
A me sim-paced tactical multiplayer shooter being developed for virtual reality head-mounted displays.
Yep.
Oh.
That will
Looks like
be
a
interesting.
military thing.
Yeah,
Got really good reviews, actually.
It actually does, yeah. A VR milsim of sorts. I have no idea how they're going to pull that off. I mean, controls could be interesting, because I wonder if it's got, like, very accurate, like, gun maintenance and reloading and stuff that you have to use the controls for. Yeah, a milsim in VR? Jesus.
The me sim, you know.
A me
Yeah,
sim,
you
yeah.
know.
It's a me sim.
It's a me.
It's a me sim.
God damn it.
It's a me sim.
I wonder
it
how the
looks good,
movement
though.
works in that. I can imagine that's going to be a pain in the ass.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That is true.
Next.
The game after that is called Beat the Dictators. It looks kind of silly.
You had me at beat the dick, but I don't know about the tater part at the end. there.
No.
It looks like it's literally just a game where you're given lots of weapons and then they show you a dictator and you get to,
Yeah,
like,
Jim Sterling did a video on this and called it an absolute piece of shit, which
It looks like a
it's exactly
Flash
what it is.
game.
It looks like
from,
it might be, yeah.
2001.
Yeah, it does. It really does. It's like one of those, celebrity beat up Trump or beat up George Bush or whatever games,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck that. Next,
The next game is called Destiny of Ancient Kingdoms.
Destiny of, I think
Sounds
it's a
intense.
free-to-play game.
sense.
I believe the destiny for most ancient kingdoms is that they die.
Yeah, they do. It's a free-to-play MMORPG based on Norse mythology. Yeah, I can tell it's based by Norse mythology when the first screenshot I see is a fucking cat girl in a bikini. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
Very
It
Norse.
looks Norse. I'm into
looks-
it.
It's actually a
Straight out of-
South African-developed MMO. So why does cat
Straight
girls
out of
in it?
1997.
It does, yes. That does not look particularly inspired, I'm afraid.
Mm.
Next.
The next game is called Grav Pool. It's kind of like, remember when that 3D Tetris game came out where it was like a big cube? You were trying to play Tetris on like a giant cube.
Yes.
It looks like that except with pool.
Oh. Right. Okay. Sure. Why not?
No,
I'm sure there's a
It's
market for
VR.
somewhere.
I don't
yes.
know. After that, we have Bloxic VR.
It's just a glut of unfinished VR games coming out these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a 3D block puzzle and movement game by the looks of it, and there's some sort of ancient Egypt theme in it for no apparent reason at all. So there you go. Next.
The next game is called Hybrid Animals. It says
Okay.
pick two animals from a giant list. The game will use an algorithm to morph them together.
Nice.
Mhm.
But then, like, one of their screenshots is like a gun. Like you're looking through
Oh.
a gun. I'm like, am I shooting my animal?
Oh no! Hopefully, you get to shoot them after you make them. I mean, what other reason would you make the hybrid animal?
No, so that they
Yeah.
can snore next to you, and it's adorable.
Well,
No, those are
apparently
real
it's a battle
animals.
game. You can apparently make them and fight your friends with them, and there's a couple of different game modes and stuff. There's only one game that lets you do this right. There's an amazing RTS that some people haven't played that they really should.
Pokemon.
No, that's
Yep.
not an
That
RTS.
one.
Impossible Creatures. Did you ever get to play Impossible Creatures?
No.
No.
You got to, Jeff. I please do it.
Really?
Please. Yeah. So Impossible Creatures is made by the same guys that made Dawn of War. It was Relic's RTS before Dawn of War, and the whole point is that you make an army by mixing two creatures together. So you can have an army of shark scorpions or sharkopians, and they take different attributes from each animal, and animals have different like skills. So like a scorpion might have a poison sting. So you morph the animals together and you build an army out of that, and it's an RTS. It's fucking awesome.
What about penguin bunnies?
I don't know if penguins are in it. I'm pretty sure rabbits are, though. I'd have to look that up. But it's now got Steam Workshop, so it supports infinite numbers of animals.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, play Impossible Creatures, man. It's great. Like, the fucking box art for it was a scorpion crossed with a fucking tiger, which is metal as fuck. So, yeah, totally. Should play that game. It's great RTS. Really fun.
Well, the next game, I don't think is metal as fuck.
Probably
Can't
not.
quite tell, but it's called Nebulous. It's a puzzle game.
Could be metal.
It could be metal. It could wind up being the most brutal
Prog
game
metal.
of our
It's one of those
age,
prog
but-
metal things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A physics-based puzzle game where you're helping to guide Commander Dash Johnson, a trapped astronaut. to
Dash
new
Jansen.
levels.
Yeah.
Dash Jansen.
I think you can't be,
Think his
you
middle
can't
name's
be an
Dash as
astronaut
well?
without a name like that.
The Dash Johnson.
The Dash Jansen.
Yeah. Maze-like
the game-
levels, physics puzzler, yeah. In space.
Yeah. The game after that is called Visitors.
Visitors. What do we have with that? There's visitors, there's visitors, there's visitors. It is... It seems like it's... You have to survive 5 days on your farm and make sure it doesn't get overrun by space aliens. So it's almost like that film Signs, but a video game. Huh. Interesting. Next.
The game after that is In Case of Emergency Release Raptor.
Which is actually no longer available on Steam. So
After that, it
never
is
mind.
no longer available because it
No.
got taken back down.
Yeah.
The game after that is Blight of the Immortals, and this is a release into early access. It's it looks like a tactics game with cards in it.
Yeah. Yeah,
So.
it's a turn-based with slow real-time co-op multiplayer. Wait, so it's a turn-based game, but the co-op is in real-time? How the fuck does that work?
I don't know.
I mean, this looks kind of interesting. It's a mixture of a board game and a CCG. The multiplayer is slow real-time and always ticking away in the background. There's no need to wait for your turn. Simply log in throughout the day to command your forces and coordinate with other players. Alright, so you kind of have it running in the background, then you come and visit it. That's a cool way of doing things.
That's interesting. Yeah.
I actually like that idea. I'm pretty sure there's a game that's done that before, where they just said, all right, well, instead of turns, we just have everything run really, really fucking slowly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of just a really slow version of real time. Huh. I mean, I'm actually quite interested in that. The card art looks pretty good. Neat. All right.
The game after that is God Eater 2 Rage Burst, which people are saying is good.
Yeah, I haven't played it per se because the game dumps you into a kind of headquarters, explains absolutely nothing, and I don't even know how to fucking find a mission in that game. I don't know why, but it runs well. I mean, it's a Japanese game, and you would have thought, oh god, the port's going to be bad. It's not. The port's actually pretty solid. It runs solid 60. It's got all the options you need. It's the closest you can really get to Monster Hunter on PC. God Eater is a very Monster Hunter-esque game. So that's not a bad thing to look at if you want that kind of experience.
The next game is The Final Station.
Yeah, I heard quite a bit about this. I don't know if it's any good. It's published by Tiny Build. It almost seems like it's... I remember that movie Snowpiercer? Like,
yeah.
It seems like it's kind of like that. Like you're on a train, you've got to keep the train operational because the world's been taken over by infected people, and you've got to like stop at stations to get supplies, but make sure your train never gets overrun. And it kind of has some FTL elements to it and stuff like that. So it looks interesting. I want to try it out.
Cool. The game after that is called Dawn's Light. It looks like an RPG Maker game.
Yes.
Yeah.
A puzzle RPG, unique dungeon designs, an epic storyline, intuitive journal system, etc.
I'll believe that when I see it out of RPG Maker.
So there's that. On August 31st, we have Virtual Warfighter.
Which is yet another milsim in VR for some reason. So
Right.
we'll see which of them actually ends up being any good.
All of them.
You are a very optimistic person,
I
especially
would
when
just
it comes to
pre-order
VR
it to
games.
be safe, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pre-order it.
Yeah.
At least.
But,
Next.
yeah.
The next one is called Thrunel VR.
It's
That's not a
a
word.
block-based puzzler in VR.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's weird. The one after that is called Mind's Eyes.
Mind's Eyes. Oh, those are very dark screenshots. It's one of those first-person horror games that's about 30 to 45 minutes, but it is, according to this, it's going to be free. Yeah, it's under the free-to-play category, so okay.
Nice.
YouTuber bait by the looks of it.
For some reason, Epistory's on here, but that came out in March.
Yeah, that's come out ages ago. I don't know what the hell that's all about.
Yeah,
Next,
but Snorri is more like it, you know what I mean?
apparently Episode is quite good. It's about
It's great.
It's a typing RPG, weirdly enough, where you ride a fucking fox for some reason. Next,
The game after that is called Tahira, Echoes of the Astral Empire.
turn-based tactics game by the looks of it. Art style's quite interesting on this one.
Yeah, it's a different art style.
Yeah, I haven't seen that before. It gives me a couple of vibes of what the hell's the name of that? Banner Saga.
Yeah.
The game after is called Hack, Slash, and Backstab.
Hack, slash, and backstab.
Yeah, it says it's a dungeon crawler.
Okay, what's the backstab aspect of it? Is it just like...
Work together to survive in the dangerous world, but only one player will be crowned the winner. And at the end, it becomes a fight to the death. It's one of those.
It's very Gauntlet-esque by the looks of it.
It looks very Gauntlet, doesn't it? I was
Yeah, it
trying to think of
does.
what it reminded me of.
Yeah, unfortunately it's couch co-op only, so if it was online, I'd definitely be interested in that. But yeah, friendly fire is always on. Apparently you have to wait for the right moment to betray your friends. Which is great. That's a cool idea. Why doesn't it have online multiplayer? Fuck.
Yeah. The true question of our era.
Usually they can't afford it or don't know how to do it, is the usual answer to that.
The game after that is called Shiny.
Left to fend for yourself, Robot Kramer 227 must find his way through 20 action-packed levels. Yeah, it's a puzzle platform box of it.
The game after that I can't get Steam to find. It's called Windscape.
Windscape, this is actually not the game I thought it was at all. Islands breaking apart and falling out of the sky, apparently. You travel the world, gather valuable resources to craft a plethora of items, meet NPCs. What I don't want Windscape to be is part of the description. A stats-driven RPG, a terrifying sandbox game, or a first-person action game. Okay, so you don't want it to be any of those things. What exactly is it supposed to be, then?
What? That's so weird.
And if you go to the final screenshot, there's Captain Yellowbeard, and he's got a yellow beard.
I mean, yeah,
Damn.
it looks like he does. That's a very weird way to do this, because it's an early access game, but he doesn't seem to know what he actually wanted to be in the first place.
Yeah.
Is this going to be one of those cases where I'll ask you? It's like, oh god, don't do that.
No. The game after that is called Battle Knights. It's a retro-style 2D game in which the player goes through 6 realms and defeats each knight that leads their respective realm.
Great.
The game after that is called Magneta.
Magneta. That also looks like a 2D. Yep. Harkening back to the days of the NES. Next.
Day of the Thrumplings is the next game.
The Trumplings.
That's
I like Thrumplings
better or worse. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Day of the Trumplings. Nobody knows where they came from. Wait. Is that...
They'll carry little Trump signs.
Oh, it literally is. It's a fucking tower defense game. Use gun control to save America. Build gun towers to stop the Trumplings before they clear a path to Armageddon.
That's pretty funny.
Nope.
Well played.
Fuck games that pull this shit. Oh,
Really?
Really?
This
Yeah.
next game-
It's just it's dumb. I don't like games that are so overtly political, like for one way or the other, that they're just obnoxiously so. It's like if you're gonna use politics.
Well,
in
you don't
games,
have a Facebook account, so I guess you're not.
I
in the
deleted my
news all
Facebook
the
account
time.
because I was sick of political discussion.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So yeah.
Like, I'm pretty used to it, so this is like a refreshing, creative way to do it.
Fair enough.
This next game looks pretty cool to me.
Mm,
It's called
yes.
The Warlock of Firetop Mountain.
Which is a classic. This was the first ever fighting fantasy game book that came out over 20 plus years ago. Very well regarded as being like one of the best choose your own adventure things ever made. They've reinterpreted it into a full-on like 3D game with proper areas and dungeons and stuff like that, but keeping some of the mechanics of the game book. It looks pretty great. I'm gonna play the fuck out of this.
It looks really cool.
Yeah, especially after playing like the sorcery adaptations on iOS that are all adaptations of Steve Jackson's books. Yeah, this looks really awesome.
The next game is called Earthlock Festival of Magic.
Earthlock Festival of Magic. It's got a nice logo, I'll give it that. What the fuck is that pig thing? It had a nice logo until it was like, there is a pig in a suit. It's like, is there? Huh. It's a turn-based fantasy RPG, and there's a pig in a suit for some reason. Don't know why.
Bold.
Probably sounds a bit like that, actually.
This next game I'm confused by when I look at it. It's called Pazzo Jello Crusade.
Oh yeah, Puzzle.
Classic.
Classic
Of
game.
course.
Well, I mean, the Jello Crusade part I get fully, you know?
Yeah.
And for calling them, it's the highly anticipated remake to the grueling 2005 Breakout hit. Really, I beg to differ that is true.
You don't remember that one?
Yeah.
All the kids were playing Puzzle.
Yeah, I must have missed that. I must have been out of the country at the time. Yeah.
Had to have been.
Next,
The one after that is called The Underground Man.
the Underground Man.
I prefer him that way.
Indeed. Hey, this is weird. Look at these screenshots, Jeff, and tell me that the guy on the left doesn't look like White Raw.
I can't see.
Go and search it. It's on Steam.
Okay. Yeah, that totally does look like him.
It really does, which is odd. It looks like old school point and click esque kind of game by the looks of it. What I can tell.
So Call of Duty.
Yes, pretty much.
Or Diablo.
Next,
The next game is called Agent Walker's Secret Journey.
Agent Walker's Secret Journey is it's a hidden object game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Should have seen that coming a mile away. Next,
I was waiting for it to dawn on you. The game after that is called Featherpunk Prime.
They're just adding punk to everything these days, aren't they?
There.
I actually cannot find Featherpunk Prime at all. Hi, yeah, the search isn't working if you put it as one word. It's a side-scrolling twin-stick shooter platformer. And you have to free the flamingos. That's why it's called Featherpunk Prime.
I see.
Of course.
They're punk flamingos, though.
Totally.
I assume most flamingos are.
Yeah,
They just won't admit it in polite company. They need to keep their jobs.
exactly.
The next game is called Dragon Blast VR, where you play a dragon and you blast people.
That is exactly what you do. No more, no less.
The game after that is called Totaled. Toadled.
Totaled. It is not Frog Fractions 2. I actually don't. I don't even know what you do in this game. All the screenshots don't show a single bit of gameplay, and there is no description of it at all. It's just a picture of toads eating things. I don't know what this is.
Oh, they're
Down.
totaled.
Yes, apparently.
I get it.
I am totally.
It's a play on the
clueless
word total.
as to what
Yeah.
this is.
Yeah, it's with a toad. And
Total.
it's like
Yeah, yes,
totaled.
yes,
total it.
I think we
Very clever.
We've gathered that. Yes, good. Next,
This next game is called Ian's Eyes, where you play the guide dog to a blind kid, it looks like. But it's a horror game, and the screenshots are making me feel unnerved.
yeah. For some reason, there are zombies. You have to. It's a stealth game. You have to use the guide dog to get the blind kid around the zombies. Basically,
That sounds fucking horrifying.
it does. That is a terrifying, disturbing thing.
Being blind would suck, but in a zombie apocalypse, it's like that's when you look up if you're any kind of.
I'm
religious-
already going to be
like,
useless in a zombie apocalypse, so it's like...
You're screwed.
God, why?
I actually bookmarked totaled.
Oh, for God's sake. Yeah. You go find out what that damn thing is. Yeah, you deal with it. Next,
The next game is called A Matter of Murder.
point
It's a
and click puzzle game.
puzzle
Yeah.
game.
They claim
Yeah,
it
but
has-
are there toads? Like, honestly, can we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it just one mega toad? Is he like Godzilla? Kind of like.
The next game is called Gun Girl 2.
I prefer my girls with guns, I suppose.
It is. Oh God, this looks awful.
Well, this is the second gun girl.
Yeah, apparently somehow they made another one. It is a side-scrolling action game that compares itself to Metroid, Castlevania, and Cave Story, and I have a feeling it's going to compare very poorly to those things.
Oof. Next up on September 2nd, we have Grid Legion Storm.
Grid Legion Storm is
A lot of grids.
Yeah. Strategy game, grid-based, card-based strategy.
Okay. The game after that is called Cliffhanger, which is not supported in English, apparently.
Great. Next.
Okay.
The next game is called Devoid.
Yeah, but like, with what kind of animal?
A void one.
Okay.
First-person adventure exploration puzzle game thing on
Okay.
a distant planet.
I can't find the next game. It's called Redout.
I think I've.
Oh, there it is.
I can find it immediately. Yeah, it's
What the frick is going on with my Steam?
I don't know. This actually looks great.
It's
it
like
looks
pod racing, but high tech.
Now this is pod racing. Yeah. F-Zero, Roll Cage, Wipeout, and POD are described as influences. This actually looks fucking awesome. I hope that it plays as good as it looks. Yeah, it's a futuristic hover racer with VR support. This actually looks amazing. I hope it doesn't suck.
It's too bad that genre's dominated by F-Zero, though, from 30 years ago.
Yes, they don't seem to be able to make a better game than that. It's weird how that works, isn't it? Next.
The next game looks awesome. It's called
Yes.
Seasons After Fall.
wow.
It's a real
It
angry
does look
glowing
awesome.
bear in this thing. Yeah,
It
you
looks
play
like
a
a
fox by the looks of it.
Beautiful 2D puzzle game.
It really does
Yeah.
look gorgeous, actually, yeah. And there is a really big, fat bear.
Mhm.
This looks pretty cool. I want
Yeah.
to play this.
Me too. Looks awesome. The game after that is called 18 Wheels of Steel.
It's a fucking... Yeah, we've already looked at that. It's a really old truck simulator game from, like, 2003. Next.
Next up is Alpha Decay.
Alpha Decay. First-person shooter meets base building. Alpha Decay is a team-based real-time strategy multiplayer shooter. That's like as many genres as we can fit into one sentence, apparently. I guess you build up a base in first-person. 4 versus 4, procedurally generated levels, team-based gameplay, gather and manage resources, but it's also got a PvE element as well, with a day and night cycle. You have to fight against the decay, but also other people. I mean, it sounds like it's got a lot of potential, but the word early access is what wards me off it
Looks
for a
alright.
while. Yeah.
That's
Might be
too
good,
much.
but I'll wait for it to actually come out.
Yeah.
Next,
Next up is called Torsion.
2D survival.
Ugh.
You are a simple and lonely gear. A gear? I mean, I think they've run out of ideas for video game characters now.
You're a
It's a
gear.
literal
A
cog.
simple and
Like in
lonely.
Metalocalypse.
Man, a
What?
lonely Gia.
It's just literal gear, cog in the machine. All right.
Not particularly good at her job, I guess.
Evidently not. Next.
Next is called Airs and Graces. It looks like a dating sim.
It is
Great.
exactly that, by the looks of it.
The next game is called The Lords of the Earth Flame.
Oh my. it's that cool I think we saw this last week actually. I guess it was delayed. It's a novel. It's a interactive fiction text-based role-playing thing.
After that curry, I think you can count Digger as one of them, huh?
The Lords of the Earth Flame. They have been summoned. I must leave for my throne. Next.
The next game is called Koth.
Yeah, it
Um,
looks like it was made in 1987. It's a really basic polygon. Climb to the top of
Yeah.
the map to defeat the Koth.
I don't know what that means, but there it is.
I don't know.
On September 3rd, we have Kuboom.
Kuboom.
Not
It's,
Kaboom.
Minecraft Counter-Strike had a baby.
Oh,
Great.
yeah. There's been several of those. Yeah, oh, yeah. This is the game that ripped off all those characters. Literally has Deadpool and all other shit that I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they don't
Oh,
have the
yeah,
rights
we saw
to.
that last time.
Yeah, screw that. Next.
Cool. The next game is called Stay Close.
I feel like I've heard of this for some reason. Why is that? It is open world horror game with single player and co-op.
Okay.
And yeah, it was delayed. I think we saw this last week. Yeah, sort of survival, sneaky co-op thing.
The next one is called Tangled Up.
We're almost done. Jesus.
It's about a
Christ.
positive and a negative charge that are together, and you solve puzzles with them.
Okay.
Adorable.
A lot of electricity themed games.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is the week of electricity for some reason. I don't know why that is.
Apparently. On September 5th, we have Aim Hero.
The ultimate solution for practicing firing accuracy to do better. Oh my god, it's literally a game where you practice aiming for other games. Are you fucking kidding me? No.
Great. And the final game is
No,
called
it's
Mother Russia Bleeds.
Yeah, this one looks great. This is another one of the another Devolver game. It looks like it's an ultra-violent side-scrolling brawler like Streets of Rage. Very messy, very bloody, very violent, very offensive, apparently. You can beat the shit out of pigs in it, quite literally pigs. This looks cool but disturbing. Like, it's got kind of Hotline Miami level disturbing stuff going on with it. I'm looking forward to giving that one a try. And that pretty much wraps us up.
That's it. We
Thank
did it.
fuck.
Woo!
A lot of games, most of them suck, but a few little highlights here and there, by the looks of it. Pretty much wraps up the show, folks. Thank you very much for watching. Before we go, we would love to remind you that the show is sponsored by squarespace.com/cooptional, and we'd also love to tell you what we're going to be doing over the next couple of weeks. I think a lot of it's going to be the same, except for Crendor, who's not going to PAX.
I'm not.
Fucking plebeian.
I went to the other 2 PAX. I'm not going to this one. I'm PAX.
Isn't this one the closest one to you?
No, the Boston one's only like 2 hours on a flight.
Fair enough.
So that's why you're going, because of laziness.
Yeah,
Indeed.
exactly.
He hates his fans, basically.
I'm gonna stay home and play World of Warcraft.
I don't exactly blame you for that. So I expect we're going to get a lot of WoW videos.
Yes, I'm gonna be doing a lot of Legion. I'm gonna be streaming a lot of Legion. I'm probably gonna stream with Jesse right after this.
Assuming he shows up.
Assuming on twitch.tv/Crendor. You can go there right now. Click the follow button. It's great. Also, I've been streaming Madden at night. That's been fun. It helps.
What?
Okay.
Have your physics broken? Because those are some of my favorite fucking videos when that happens.
Oh yeah, when the physics break.
All
Yeah,
the EA
this
Sports games have
actually
dodgy
been-
as fuck physics. It's the best
This
thing about them.
Madden this year, the physics have been great. It's
Oh.
been so they've fixed a lot of it.
Well, that ruins the whole thing then.
Well, I just also play franchise mode and simulate a lot, so it's a lot of just menu browsing.
That's
Everyone's
fair.
like, "When are you playing the game?" I'm like, "I'm playing it right now." And so let's see, what else am I doing? Probably just YouTube videos, Twitch. Yeah, me and Dodger got a thing on her channel.
Yeah,
What is-
come
what
watch
is that thing?
Backstage Pass, a tale of socially anxious makeup artist who meets dream boy.
So that's a thing that's
That's
happening. You go
strangely
check that out.
appropriate considering.
And
yes.
I also got the final Wing of Hearthstones this week. I'll be playing that on my YouTube channel.
Awesome. Hopefully the bosses are a little bit less terrible than this week's.
It was really easy this week.
Yeah, that was after some really good bosses and some awesome mechanics. It's like that was it. Fuck.
Yeah.
They really dropped the ball
dare.
on that one.
Hopefully
Yeah.
a little more challenging.
Get a refund.
But,
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've run everything today. Jeff, what are you up to in the next couple of weeks outside of going to PAX? Because you will be going to PAX and you'll be showing up on a certain panel, I believe.
Yeah. We can talk about that, right?
We can.
Yeah, so this weekend I'll be at PAX West in Seattle. If you want to come see me, unlike Crendor, I'm actually really dedicated to my fans, and I'm going to be there for you. So I want to give you a piece of my time. If you want to lock it of my hair, I can do that as well. And I'll be on time, too, because that's important to me. Professionalism.
Just putting
I'm just
everyone on
kidding.
blast today.
I know. It's all I got. It's what I have to work with here. So, no, I'll be there. And like I said, the folks at Relic reached out and I'm going to be streaming from their booth, Dawn of War 3 on Sunday.
Cool.
Same as TotalBiscuit. I'm really hoping for a great game, and they want honest feedback and stuff well, they said they want honest feedback. I'm hoping the honest feedback is just me orgasming over and over and over again.
That's honest. That's not something you can fake as a male, you know?
You cannot. That's actually some of the best criticism someone can receive, I'm told.
Indeed.
Um,
I'm tempted to sneak by around that time and see if they'll let us do multiplayer. That would be pretty sick.
Ooh, bruh. Yeah,
That'd be
let's
cool.
talk. Let's do it. So that's what we'll be doing then. I'm also going to be on that panel, the Co-optional Lounge, we call it, right?
The Co-optional Lounge. That is going to be happening at 5:30 on Saturday.
Can we say what game we're playing?
I believe the plan is to play Snake Oil and Billionaire Banshee. That's the plan anyway. That could very much change at the last minute, but we're probably going to be doing that.
And it won't be streamed, right? Or it will?
It should. Not all
Okay.
the theaters are. I'm not sure if we're in one that is. I think we are. But I can't 100% guarantee that. We will try, obviously, to film it if it doesn't get streamed. It is on the schedule. As to which theater it's in, it is in the Sphinx Theater. So come
Nice.
see us 5:30. Obviously,
I think
Co-optional
it's
usually
pronounced
fills the
Sphinx,
room.
by the way. I think it's pronounced Sphinx.
It's
The
Sphinx?
Spanx Theater.
Yeah, that's
No.
The H is silent.
No, it's not. It's not at all. It's the Sphinx Theater. You lying bastard.
Got him! I got him on one, guys.
Hate
Finally.
you so much.
So yeah, I'll be doing that. Otherwise, I'm going to be on PJ Sultan, which is the Twitch put on production.
Ah,
where
yes. Yeah.
They make personalities play really shitty games. I will bring the salt, that's for sure. I'm really bad at bad games, actually, despite being the only one there that'll have been a professional at anything gaming related.
I can't wait to watch you
competing, anyways. So it'll be fun. Up until then, I'm just going to be hanging out and streaming a whole bunch. I just got back from a Warhammer tournament in Austin, Texas, where I actually won, which is a big deal for me.
Congratulations.
I placed very highly in a lot, but never
You
won
rolled
a
some
big
dice
one.
better than those dudes rolled their dice, I can tell you that.
You'll be happy to hear it was the Adeptus Mechanicus army that rolled on to win.
That's
for the
acceptable.
Omnici.
That's reasonable.
Yep. The ungruents were applied appropriately.
The sacred oils.
Yes. Other than that, guys, if you head over to my Twitch on iNcontroL TV, I just stream a bunch of StarCraft and some other games. Just finished Deus Ex. Like I said, really enjoyable, but ultimately kind of a bad game to stream for me anyways. I'm not sure I'll play next.
Impossible
but that's
Creatures.
just-
There you go.
Yeah,
How's
I'll
the
check
campaign?
that out. My buddy's been playing Pillars of Eternity as well, and that looks like some pretty cool RPG stuff going on there. It's an older game. It's a 1 year older game. And that's it for me. Just thank you everyone for listening to me blather too, and thanks for having me on, guys.
Yep, thanks for
Yeah, man.
stepping in at the last minute. Those wondering where Adam Kovic went, he had to... Basically, he was not able to show up for the whole show. He had a last-minute engagement, so what we're planning on doing is we're going to have him on the Co-optional Podcast at PAX, because he's going to be there. So it'll be a Co-optional and Funhouse collab. That's going to be happening on a Monday at 12 o'clock? Yes, 12 midday in the Wyvern Theatre. That's where that's going to be, in the Wyvern Theatre, 12 p.m. Monday. And I'm told that that will be streamed as well on the PAX Twitch channel. So keep an eye on our Twitter. We'll let you know where it is. And I will say, assuming that we don't fuck it up, we will be premiering the brand new intro for the Co-optional Podcast at that panel. That's the plan anyway, assuming we don't screw it all up. So tune in for that.
That's very quick. Like you already did one with Crendor in there and dropped Jesse. That's insane. That was
Yeah.
very
It's
fast turnaround.
awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
You know, we had to work really hard to do that, but we managed it. We just pulled it off at the last moment. Dodger, outside of PAX, which you are coming to, any other plans for this week?
Backstage pass, more butt touching with Crendor. Other than that, just normal streams, and I'll see y'all in Seattle.
Very cool. I'll also be in Seattle for PAX West. Doing more of a light schedule. I'm going to be looking at a few major things. I've been invited to go and look at Ubisoft stuff, so we're going to be playing some For Honor, as well as South Park, and a couple of other things here and there.
Just saw the name for their new game. That looks
The Fractured Butthole. Yes.
amazingly.
Perfect. Yes.
That's like the highlight of E3.
It was.
It really was.
When everybody was like, "Oh, I get it."
Without a shadow of a doubt, that was absolutely excellent. But I'll be mostly sort of scouting out the floor to look for interesting games to sort of cover closer to when they come out. I'm not going to be filming most of them because, as it turns out, you people don't give a flying fuck about games that aren't out yet. So I'll be mostly just looking at that and hopefully going to check out some board games as well while I'm there. Rarely get a chance to do that. So outside of that, we are doing 2 panels while we're there, and there will also be an autograph session for the Co-optional Podcast. So the 2 panels, as we mentioned earlier, on the PAX West schedule, that is 5 o'clock on Saturday is the Co-optional Lounge with myself, Dodger, Jesse, Jenna, iNcontroL, and Anna Prosser.
Yeah.
That should be the panel. That should be a lot of fun. That's at 5:30. And then Monday, 12 midday, in the Wyvern Theatre is the Co-optional Podcast. And then after the Co-optional Podcast, about half an hour after that, 1:30, we have an autograph session, a signing session in the autograph area, which will be going on for 90 minutes. So if you wish to come get a signing, photo, etc., that is the place to go. Outside of that, I did just release my hour-long video on Master of Orion, so go watch that. And if you did not catch all of the games from Shoutcraft Kings August edition, they are all now available spoiler-free over at youtube.com/TotalBiscuit. That is youtube.com/TotalBiscuit. Please go and have a look at that. There were some ridiculous games. Let's just put it that way. Just incredible, ridiculous, insane StarCraft. Please do go watch it. I promise you will be entertained. There is no doubt about that. And hopefully a couple of after-hour videos before I leave for PAX on Thursday. That's it. We're done. Thank you very much for the
Yeah,
Co-optional
we did it.
Podcast. Thank you for watching. Big thanks to Crendor and EGiNcontroL for stepping in at the last minute and saving the show. Very much appreciated. Please enjoy your share of the Squarespace sponsorship money. Don't spend it all at once. It'll be about $350, I'm told.
I'll spend it all at
About
once.
tree fitty.
You will spend it all
I'll make
at
a
once.
website called CSGO Lotto. It'll be a great.
Yeah.
Oh, you found that one too.
That worked out so well the last time it was attempted, no doubt. Big thanks for watching the show, folks. We very much appreciate it. Just a reminder, the show will be on Monday. Yes, Monday, not Tuesday. There will be no Tuesday show next week because we're doing it at PAX. So it will be Monday instead. So do not expect a Tuesday podcast. Tune in for the Monday podcast on the PAX official stream, and the VODs will be available on youtube.com/cynicalbrit. We are done. Thank you very much for watching the show. Thank you to our sponsor, squarespace.com/cooptional, for making the show possible this week. And we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.